Upon my rebirth, I decided to do two things. The first was to write the name of my fiancé Fu Zijing's beloved, Zhao Rui, on the marriage registration form, thus fulfilling their desires as a pair of scoundrels. The second was to take all my savings and head south to start a business. In my previous life, Fu Zijing, out of pity for his childhood sweetheart Zhao Rui, secretly gave her the money I had painstakingly saved over 5 years for our wedding, which she used to buy a house. Over 2 decades later, Zhao Rui became a multimillionaire through house demolition. Meanwhile, I lived in a dilapidated rural house with leaky walls, taking care of Fu Zijing's bedridden mother and raising 2 children, all while uncomplainingly enduring the hardships. On the day I died from exhaustion, Fu Zijing was in the big city, dressed in a suit and holding flowers, celebrating Zhao Rui's 50th birthday. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn. 1. The staff dormitory was bustling with people. Seeing me hurrying in, those who knew me greeted me proactively. Lame, I ran into Engineer Fu on the street today. He was buying a ring at the jewelry store. Is it the wedding ring he's preparing for you? Engineer Fu is cultured, good-looking, and romantic. Marrying him is the envy of everyone. Who could disagree? There are so few people like Fu Gong who are both kind and loyal. Kind and loyal, Fu Zijing's kindness and loyalty are all for Zhao Rui. As for me, he just sees me as a servant who is always at his beck and call, ready to work tirelessly. After all, this old servant, love him so much and always have his best interests at heart. I treat his words as if they were sacred commands. With me around, he has no worries at all. I didn't respond to everyone's words and just quickly made my way through the crowd and went home. I closed the door and rushed to my room. Opened the box by the bed, and inside was the familiar tin box. I reached out and opened it. The neatly arranged money in the tin box came into view, and I let out a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, there's still time. I carefully counted the money in the tin box, and it was exactly 5,000 yuan, no more, no less. This is the salary I saved after 5 years of hard work and frugal living. In my previous life, I couldn't bear to eat or wear well, tightening my belt to save this money. Dreaming of marrying Fu Zijing and having children to live a happy and fulfilling life. But how did Fu Zijing treat me? He secretly gave this money to his childhood sweetheart Zhao Rui to buy a house behind my back. Afraid that I would find out the truth and make a scene, he even lied to me, saying that the money was stolen by a pickpocket on his way to buy wedding supplies. I had no doubt about Fu Zijing's words and even comforted him that money could be earned again if lost. Later, Fu Zijing's mother fell down the stairs and broke her leg. Fu Zijing said his mother was sick and needed care, so I took the initiative to resign and return home to take care of her. As soon as I went back to the countryside to take care of Fu Zijing's mother, Zhao Rui took over my job. While I was in the countryside tending to Fu Zijing's mother's every need, Fu Zijing was in the city with Zhao Rui, showing their affection for each other. Later, Fu Zijing moved to a larger city for work due to a job transfer, and he took Zhao Rui along to enjoy the good life, but he didn't spare a thought for me, his wife. I spent half my life caring for my mother-in-law and raising 2 children. At nearly 50, I thought I could finally enjoy life, only to discover that Fu Zijing had been keeping a separate family with Zhao Rui behind my back. If Zhao Rui hadn't come back to sell the house and gloated about the truth to me, I would have never known Fu Zijing's true nature until my dying day. Knowing the truth, I would never marry Fu Zijing in this lifetime. I'm taking my money and leaving this place. I took the money out of the tin box and left the house with it. Since I plan to do business in the south, I need to check the train tickets first. I rushed straight to the train station and saw Fu Zijing and Zhao Rui walking out of a store together, carrying large bags and small bags, looking very close, too. Seeing Fu Zijing and Zhao Rui, I quickly ducked into a nearby store to avoid them. To my surprise, the 2 of them followed me inside. Fu Zijing came shopping with Zhao Rui, and he's completely focused on her, not even noticing me. The 2 of them were browsing items at a counter some distance away from me. As they picked items, Zhao Rui asked Fu Zijing in a coquettish voice, "Brother Fu, will Sister Lame agree if you give me her job?" Isn't my job supposed to go to Zhao Rui after I quit because Fu Zijing's mother broke her leg? Could it be that in my previous life, Fu Zijing had already planned for me to quit so Zhao Rui could take over my job? I was utterly astonished, my gaze fixed on Fu Zijing. Fu Zijing's usually cold face was softened by a gentle smile, his voice equally soothing. "She'll have to agree whether she wants to or not, don't worry. I've already figured out a solution. In our previous lives, Fu Zijing always spoke to me in a formal and stern manner, and I always thought that was just his personality. I never expected that he was not gentle with me simply because I wasn't the person he wanted. Zhao Rui's face lit up with joy when she heard Fu Zijing say that. Thank you, Brother Fu. You're so kind to us mother and child. This is what I should do. Hearing Fu Zijing say that, Zhao Rui's eyes darted around, looking pitifully charming. Brother Fu. It's just that Xiao Gang and I are new here, and it's not right to keep troubling you. If only we could have a place to stay. Zhao Rui biting her lip, looking so pitiful that anyone would feel sympathy. Seeing her like that, Fu Zijing couldn't bear to refuse, gently comforting. Don't worry, I'll figure something out for your housing situation. What can you do about it? You're only living in a dorm yourself now. Zhao Rui's pitiful expression was impossible for any man to resist. Not just Fu Zijing, who already liked her. After thinking for a moment, Fu Zijing finally spoke. I've already made arrangements for the house. Lamei's father was an old worker at the factory, and since he passed away on duty, the factory leaders decided to offer a 3-bedroom apartment at a low price for Lamei to purchase first. I've decided that you will be the one to apply for that apartment. Zhao Rui's eyes sparkled with excitement, unable to hide her joy. Really? But I doubt Sister Lamei would agree to that, would she? Just don't tell her. Fu Zijing replied lightly. This isn't good, is it? Zhao Rui said hesitantly, then quickly changed the subject. But Brother Fu, I'm new here, I don't have any money, and I have a child to raise. Even if you help me get a house, I can't afford to pay for it. Fu Zijing was quite taken by Zhao Rui's gentle and dependent demeanor. Don't worry, I'll figure out the housing payment, just sit back and wait. Hearing Fu Zijing's words, Zhao Rui immediately broke into a smile through her tears. Thank you, Brother Fu, you're so kind to us mother and son, Xiao Gang, and I will never forget your great kindness. We don't need to be so formal with each other. The two of them shopped for daily necessities and left side by side, completely unaware of me nearby. I never expected Fu Zijing would go this far for Zhao Rui. It turns out that the low-cost apartment Zhao Rui bought in her previous life was allocated to me by the factory as compensation for my father's on-duty death. Fu Zijing actually went behind my back and unilaterally intercepted the house for Zhao Rui, using the money I had painstakingly saved for our wedding to pay for the down payment. Zhao Rui enjoyed the benefits of the house I bought with my own money, not contributing a single cent throughout. What profound love does Fu Zijing have for Zhao Rui? If they hadn't exploited me, I would have been tempted to sing praises for their great love. All I can think of right now are 3 words: shameless couple. 3. I was originally planning to go to the train station to buy a ticket, but after hearing Fu Zijing's words, I immediately changed my mind and headed straight to the factory to find the leader. Hearing my explanation, the leader was quite surprised. You and Engineer Fu are about to get married, so we didn't directly involve you in this matter. Engineer Fu said he would prepare the documents for you to sign and then submit them, but we've already reminded him several times, and he still hasn't prepared them. Hearing the leader's words, I suddenly remembered something that happened in my previous life. Around the same time, Fu Zijing came home with some documents for me to sign. Could those materials have been the housing compensation documents? I believed in my past life that Fu Zijing signed his name without even looking at the content. That's how Fu Zijing took advantage of the situation. So this time I'm going to act first. I told the leader. He is him, and I am me. This is the compensation the factory gave to my father, and it can only go to me, his only daughter. Fu Zijing is not my husband. He's just an outsider, and he has no right to make decisions for me. I will handle the house matters myself. The leader thought it made sense when I said that and gave me a new set of house purchase information to fill out. Without delay, I quickly filled out the paperwork, paid the 2,000 yuan down payment on the spot, and received the keys to my new home. Zhao Rui and Fu Zijing can dream on if they think they'll ever scheme their way into my house in this lifetime. I tucked the new house keys into my pocket, enjoyed a big bowl of hot wontons at a roadside stall, and then returned to the staff dormitory. Fu Zijing had already returned and was sitting in the living room with a serious expression. After we set the wedding date, I gave Fu Zijing a key to my dorm, and he gave me one to his. Before, Fu Zijing and I had kept our distance. Now that Zhao Rui and her son have arrived, Fu Zijing, feeling sorry for them having no place to stay, offered his dorm to them. He moved into the other vacant room in my dorm, seeing me return so late. Fu Zijing was very unhappy and asked me sharply, Young Lamei, where have you been? Why are you only coming back now? Normally, as soon as he frowned, I would have already rushed over like a lapdog. Today, I replied coldly, I went out to take care of something. Fu Zijing sneered, what could you possibly have to take care of? I ignored Fu Zijing and turned to enter my own room. Fu Zijing was tall, handsome, and cultured. Working as an engineer at the factory, I loved him deeply. Always going out of my way to flatter him, he had never been snubbed by me before, and my attitude left Fu Zijing feeling utterly frustrated, seeing me enter my room without a care. It's easy to imagine the anger he felt, and he immediately got up and followed me in. Young Lame, did you take some gunpowder today? By the way, I was asking you, why is all the money you saved gone? Did you go through the box where I keep my money while I was away? I gave him a cold smile and said. Did you go through my box, Fu Zijing? What do you mean by going through my box without permission? I love Fu Zijing, foolishly giving him everything unconditionally. Fu Zijing has long since regarded my money and all my possessions as his private property. He never dreamed I would confront him like this, and Fu Zijing's face turned red. I didn't mean, I thought we were about to get married, and we need to buy wedding stuff. You've saved quite a bit, right? I just thought I'd use it first. Hehe, in my past life, he used such excuses to swindle my money and give it to Zhao Rui. Now he wants to repeat the same trick. He really has no shame, I said coldly. Buy the wedding stuff with your own money. Why are you rummaging through my chest? Are you not planning to contribute financially for the wedding? Do you expect me, a woman, to pay for it? Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? My tone and attitude angered Fu Zijing, never having been spoken to like that before. He immediately shouted, Young Lame, what's your attitude? I coldly stared at Fu Zijing, who was red with anger. What, did I say something wrong? In this factory, whose wedding doesn't involve the groom paying, why should it be my money for ours? Are you even a man? Fu Zijing was left speechless by my retort and stormed out, slamming the door. I closed the door and checked the room. It looked messy, as if it had been searched. Fu Zijing must have been looking for money in my room. Fortunately, I had returned early and taken the money first. Otherwise, I'll fall for his tricks again. Fu Zijing didn't come back that night, and I didn't bother to check on him. I know Fu Zijing is waiting for me to go to him and beg him. After all, in my previous life, I didn't even dare to speak harshly to him. Being confronted like this suddenly was too much for his ego, and slamming the door and leaving was his way of showing it. Fu Zijing must be waiting for me to beg him like I used to, this time. He's overthinking it. I didn't care where Fu Zijing was last night. It was probably with Zhao Rui. Fu Zijing is so fond of Zhao Rui that he would go through fire and water for her. I'm taking the initiative to step aside and let Fu Zijing and Zhao Rui be together, and he should be very happy, definitely taking the opportunity to get close to Zhao Rui. I was wrong, though, because the next morning Fu Zijing actually came back on his own. 5. Fu Zijing brought breakfast, including baozi, youtiao, and soy milk. The steaming food was placed on the table, and when I finished washing up, he greeted me with a smile. Lame, breakfast is ready, why not eat if it's free? I sat down at the table, picked up a bun, and started eating. Fu Zijing kept sizing me up, but I had no intention of talking to him and just kept eating. Seeing this, Fu Zijing had no choice but to speak up. Lame, I was in the wrong yesterday, and I apologize. Is the sun rising in the west today? I looked up at him with a sarcastic expression, and a hint of embarrassment flashed across his face, but he continued nonetheless. A colleague of mine had some family issues and needed money, so I lent her all the money I had saved for wedding supplies. Now, we'll have to use your money to buy the wedding supplies. Hehe. If I were still the young Lame from my past life, completely obsessed with Fu Zijing, I would have believed his ridiculous lies without a second thought, but I've long since been reborn. I sneered inwardly, knowing he was lying. The goal was to trick me out of my money to buy a house for his sweetheart, Zhao Rui. It's not just Fu Zijing who can lie. I, young Lame, can too. I swallowed the baozi and took a big gulp of soy milk, my face reflecting my sadness. Yesterday I was in a bad mood. But there was a reason. My money was stolen when I went shopping yesterday. So, what? Fu Zijing stood up in a fluster. The excuse I used was the one he lied to me with in my previous life. In my past life, I chose to believe his lies. But in this life, Fu Zijing looks at me with a skeptical expression. He doesn't believe me, yet, he can't find a reason to doubt me, as I've always obeyed him and treated him like a god. Fu Zijing doesn't believe I would lie to him, without getting money from me. There's no way to buy a house for Zhao Rui. In these times, a monthly salary of just over 100 yuan is common, and 2,000 yuan is no small amount. Borrowing that much in a short time is nearly impossible. Fu Zijing stormed out again in anger. I ignored Fu Zijing's impotent rage and went to the factory after breakfast, planning to leave here and head south to do business. I naturally no longer want this job. I won't let Fu Zijing and Zhao Rui, that despicable couple, get away with it cheaply. I plan to sell my job and make some money. The factory's doing well, and there are plenty of people eager to trade money for a job. When I announced I was giving up my job, Several people looking for work approached me to inquire about the price. I didn't ask for much, and we finally reached an agreement. The other party was planning to find a new job for his wife, but he didn't have any money on hand. He had to go back and discuss with his wife before borrowing some money. After agreeing on a time with the other party, I returned to my place in high spirits. I had just sat down and taken a sip of water when Zhao Rui arrived. 6. Zhao Rui came to provoke me on purpose. She swayed her snake-like waist in front of me, proudly telling me, "Sister Lame, Brother Fu spent the whole day with me yesterday, helping me buy things. I didn't have any money, so I used his salary. He also said that since I'm new here and don't have money to live on, he'll give me half of his salary in the future." Zhao Rui had said these words to my face in my previous life, and I was so angry that I trembled, cursing her for being shameless and causing a scene with Fu Zijing. In the end, I gained nothing and only made Fu Zijing more annoyed with me. Zhao Rui is pulling this stunt again in this life, but I'm not reacting. My gaze fell on Zhao Rui, and I noticed her brand new outfit looked familiar. This seems to be the dress I bought for the wedding. When did Zhao Rui take my clothes? Seeing that I ignored her provocation and just stared at the clothes on her body, Zhao Rui's expression became even more smug. Knowing that I didn't bring any clothes with me, Brother Fu felt sorry for me and gave me your new clothes. Please don't be upset. I coldly looked at Zhao Rui. It's fine, my clothes were bought with my money. Fu Zijing gave them to you without my consent. Taking something without asking is stealing. I'll handle this myself and ask him for the money. Zhao Rui snorted when she heard me say that. What are you pretending for? Do you dare to ask Brother Fu for money? With your looks, you're lucky your ancestors burned high incense to marry Brother Fu. Believe me, I can make Brother Fu break up with you right away. Does Fu Zijing really listen to you like that? What are you to him? I retorted with a cold smile. Zhao Rui was momentarily speechless, then grew flustered and angry. What am I to him? You don't know. If it weren't for my parents forcing me to marry back then, I would have married Brother Fu, and it wouldn't have been your turn. Is that so? So after your husband died, you went to Fu Zijing to rekindle your old flame with him. There's no outsider here. So Zhao Rui isn't afraid. Yes, that's exactly what you're thinking. I couldn't help but laugh at her shameless face. You two lovebirds really are devoted to each other, huh? If you like Fu Zijing so much, I'll give him to you. Now get out, and stay far away. Don't come back to disgust me. Zhao Rui didn't expect me to act like a completely different person. She failed to achieve her goal and glared at me with rage. You just wait. I'm waiting. Isn't it because you lost your man and now you're eyeing Fu Zijing, treating him like a fool? You want money, my job, and even my house. If Fu Zijing had nothing, would you still be cooing at him? Let me tell you. Whatever you want to do is none of my business. Take Fu Zijing. I don't care. My job, money, and house, Yan Lame's, will never be a stepping stone for you two scoundrels. Zhao Rui's eyes burned with anger as I hit a nerve, and realizing she wasn't getting anywhere, she prepared to leave, but as soon as she turned around and saw someone entering the courtyard, she immediately changed her mind. Her face, which had been filled with resentment and venom, instantly softened into a pitiful, tearful expression. Covering her face and sobbing, she cried, "Sister Lame, you've misunderstood me and Brother Fu. We are just siblings, nothing like what you're implying." 7. As soon as she finished speaking, tears streamed down her face. I didn't even need to look to know that Fu Zijing had returned. Sure enough, Fu Zijing appeared at the door right after, and seeing Zhao Rui in such a state, Fu Zijing felt heartbroken. Without asking for the details, he angrily shouted at me, "Young Lame. What have you done this time?" Sister Lame said I'm only after your money. She refused to give me the job, wouldn't let me have the house, and even slandered that our relationship was improper. Zhao Rui spilled everything I wanted to say to Fu Zijing. Hearing Zhao Rui bring up the job and the house on her own, Fu Zijing's expression was grim. He had never intended to expose his dark thoughts to me. Being so blatantly exposed like this was utterly humiliating. After feeling ashamed and angry, Fu Zijing lost his temper and yelled at me, "Young Lame, you've gone too far. Apologize to Rui." I always knew Fu Zijing was ruthless and heartless toward me. I always knew he had been using me. Despite everything, I was moved to tears by his blind favoritism towards Zhao Rui. A lifetime of love, a lifetime of sacrifice, a lifetime of wasted years, all for such a man. I truly am not worth it. I weep with sorrow for the ignorance and pity of my past self. Seeing my eyes redden, Fu Zijing was taken aback and awkwardly signaled Zhao Rui to leave. After Zhao Rui left, he closed the door and sat down across from me. "Lame, let's have a proper talk." I wiped away the tears from the corners of my eyes and coldly stared at him. To my surprise, Fu Zijing took the initiative to explain, "Lame, there's nothing between Rui and me. We're completely innocent. I just feel sorry for Rui. You know how pitiful Ruyuan's situation is now. She's lost her husband and has to raise a child. I just want to help her. Hee. If I hadn't experienced the past life, I would have believed his explanation. No matter how much he tries to explain, it's useless. I continue to silently watch Fu Zijing. Fu Zijing has never seen me like this before. After hesitating for a moment, he comes over and takes my hand. Lame, I didn't mean to hide the house matter from you. Rui and her child have nowhere to live, and it's not good for them to stay in my dormitory, so I thought of preparing a house for Rui to move out, so you wouldn't be upset with me because of her. What a noble-sounding excuse. But why should I give up my own house for Zhao Rui? I asked him word by word, why should I give up my house for Zhao Rui, who is no relation of mine? Fu Zijing was momentarily at a loss for words, then said after a while, Rui grew up with me, and I owe a debt of gratitude to her parents, so I need to repay her. You can repay her yourself. Why drag me into this? If I remember correctly, you've already given her quite a bit of money, haven't you? You even promised to give her half of your salary. Isn't that enough to repay your debt of gratitude? Gratitude isn't just about money. Lame, let's help Rui this one time. Okay, I'm begging you. No way. I refused Fu Zijing's request. I didn't expect you to be so stubborn. Fu Zijing got angry. We're about to get married, and as husband and wife, we are one. The husband leads the wife, so you must listen to me. What if I don't listen? If you don't listen to me and don't give the house to Rui and her child, then don't even think about marrying me. 8. Fu Zijing finally said the words he had always wanted to say to me. In my previous life, after my father's death, I was deeply attached to Fu Zijing, always seeing him as my salvation. In my previous life, the thing I feared most was Fu Zijing breaking up with me. What I feared most was Fu Zijing abandoning me. So, even though I knew he was getting too close to Zhao Rui in an unhealthy way, I swallowed my pride and kept quiet. I always thought I was obedient and kind enough, that Fu Zijing would understand my heart if I gave enough for him. He would pity me and be good to me. Unfortunately, young Lame of the previous life never saw that day. She died in that cold, lonely, tired, and painful winter night. This life's young Lame won't be so foolish anymore. I stared at Fu Zijing for a long time and slowly said, alright, then we won't get married. Fu Zijing hadn't expected me to say that, and he looked at me. Flustered and unsure of what to do, I coldly stared at Fu Zijing. Since we're not getting married, you don't need to stay here anymore. Please pack up your things and leave immediately. Fu Zijing stared at me in utter shock, his expression as if his mind had gone blank. It's no wonder Fu Zijing was so shocked. In her previous life, young Lame would never have spoken to him like this or kicked him out. Young Lame gave her life for him. Now that the mask is off, I don't want to spend a single minute under the same roof as this heartless man. I threw all of Fu Zijing's things out of the room and right at his feet. Fu Zijing's shock and disbelief turned to panic. Realizing I wasn't joking and was serious about kicking him out, he fled in a hurry. After speaking to Fu Zijing like that, given his pride and self-respect, I thought our relationship was over. I underestimated Fu Zijing's determination to help Zhao Rui. He would do anything for the woman he loves, including threatening and slandering me to force me to comply. 3 days later, after buying a train ticket south, I returned, planning to sell my job to the person I had negotiated with and leave, when suddenly something happened. I encountered Zhao Rui's son, Xiao Zhang, in the courtyard. Xiao Zhang saw me and charged at me with a hostile look. I didn't know what he was going to do, so I instinctively stepped aside. Xiao Zhang fell heavily to the ground, and his head hit the ground, causing blood to flow out quickly. Without thinking, I instinctively reached out to help him up, but this little brat grabbed my hand and bit it hard. The pain made me fling him away forcefully, and Xiao Gang fell to the ground again. He let out a thunderous scream, crying out, "Young Lame is hitting me." At Xiao Gang's piercing cry, Zhao Rui immediately ran over. She ignored Xiao Gang and grabbed my hand, asking, "Young Lame, why did you hit someone?" Zhao Rui screamed and accused me. While Xiao Gang clung tightly to my leg, my former colleagues rushed over to ask what was happening, and Zhao Rui and her son kept insisting that I had hit someone. There were no witnesses at the time of the incident, only Xiao Gang. Everyone's gaze towards me changed, and Zhao Rui shrieked, demanding to send me to the police station. I naturally denied everything I didn't do, and just as things were getting heated, Fu Zijing appeared. Fu Zijing stopped Zhao Rui from calling the police to arrest me. He said he would handle the matter and wanted to have a proper talk with me. By now, I had a pretty good idea of the purpose behind Fu Zijing and Zhao Rui's scheme to frame me. 9. Indeed, the first thing Fu Zijing said to me was, "Xiao Zhang has both eyewitnesses and physical evidence of his injury. You can't escape blame. The police will definitely arrest you." I quietly watched Fu Zijing, and he felt ashamed under my gaze. Lowering his head and continuing, I can convince Rui not to report this, so you won't get a criminal record for intentional injury, but you need to show some sincerity. Promise me one thing. Seeing Fu Zijing speaking clearly with his head down, my heart sank. I always knew they were a bunch of scoundrels, but I never expected them to scheme against me like this. I was still too naive. I thought that by stepping aside to let them have their way, I could protect myself. Little did I realize that if they had ulterior motives from the start, how could they possibly let go? I regret my carelessness and stupidity. Fu Zijing was willing to be an accomplice for Zhao Rui and her child. Things have come to this point, and I have no other options. I don't want a criminal record, I don't want to waste my energy, and I don't want to get entangled with those two losers. I spoke in a hoarse voice. You're not getting the house. I'd rather die than give it to Zhao Rui. It's what my father earned with his life. Fu Zijing was silent for a moment before saying, we don't need the house, but you have to give your job to Rui. Don't worry, we'll still get married as planned, and I'll take care of you in the future. He probably thinks I'm desperate to marry him. I felt sick just hearing him say that. And I feel sick every minute I spend with Fu Zijing. Fortunately, I had no intention of marrying him, and I never wanted to live that kind of miserable life. Staying away from Fu Zijing, this despicable man, is what I urgently need to do now. After weighing everything, I agreed. Alright, give the job to Zhao Rui, and you can leave. Surprisingly, Fu Zijing didn't seem as happy as I expected. He even reached out to hug me. Lame, you've been wronged in this matter. Don't worry. I'll treat you well after we get married. I definitely won't let you suffer. He probably thought he was some kind of romantic hero, but I couldn't stomach it and avoided Fu Zijing. I coldly reminded him again, you can leave now. Fu Zijing didn't leave. Instead, he had the audacity to claim he had nowhere to stay and moved back into the guest room. I knew he wasn't a good person, and I knew both he and Zhao Rui were despicable scoundrels. To prevent them from causing trouble again, I had to play along. Anyway, I've already bought the train ticket. In 5 days, I'll leave this place and never see those disgusting people again. 10. Fu Zijing seemed like a completely different person, no longer so arrogant. Instead, he diligently prepares breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, trying to win me over. But now I feel nothing but disgust and revulsion when I see him. Fu Zijing actively buys candies and biscuits to curry favor with me and asks me about the details of the wedding. He must have had a pang of conscience and stopped spending all day with Zhao Rui, showering her with attention. Now, he just follows me around. He doesn't care about my cold attitude. He discusses the wedding banquet with me, who to invite, and what I should wear for the wedding. He seemed genuinely concerned about the marriage on the surface, yet I felt no emotion at all. I've endured enough suffering from my past life, and I will never believe that Fu Zijing, this despicable man, will change. In response to Fu Zijing's flattery, I could only offer a cold reply. Do as you see fit. This is the same cold remark Fu Zijing made to me when I was meticulously preparing for our wedding in my previous life, and I'm returning it to him verbatim. Fu Zijing's expression was complicated, but soon he was fawning on me again. Lame, here's our marriage report. I've already signed it. Now it's just waiting for you. Once you sign, let's go get our marriage certificate today. I gave a slight smirk at Fu Zijing's obsequious manner and said, put it over there. Our wedding is in 3 days. We can't delay any further. It's best to get the marriage certificate today. I don't know why Fu Zijing is so insistent on getting a marriage certificate with me. To prevent any unexpected situations, I didn't want Fu Zijing to see through my true thoughts, so I said indifferently, you go take care of your own business first. I'll sign and get the marriage certificate myself. I had been cold to him these past few days, so my sudden agreement left Fu Zijing pleasantly surprised. Alright, I'll go deliver the invitations first. You sign first, and we'll go get the certificate together later. Fu Zijing happily left with a few invitations, while I sneered coldly, holding the marriage report. Just as I was about to tear it up and throw it away, Zhao Rui showed up again. 11. These days, Fu Zijing hasn't gone to see Zhao Rui, no matter how hard she tried to get him to come. Fu Zijing's change in attitude upset Zhao Rui, and she took the opportunity to come and provoke me while he wasn't actively seeking her out. Young Lame, even after all this, you're still clinging to brother Fu. You really have no shame, do you? I gave Zhao Rui a fake smile. I still need to learn from your shamelessness. After all, Fu Zijing and I are at least nominally engaged, unlike you, who has no status and clings to Fu Zijing all day, just trying to ruin his reputation. My words hit home, making Zhao Rui furious. She glared at me with venom. You don't think you've won, do you? Let me tell you, be smart and break off your engagement with brother Fu right now, or you'll regret it later. What if I don't? Zhao Rui, I know you want to marry Fu Zijing. He's an engineer now, making over 100 yuan more than an ordinary worker each month. With a bright future ahead, you want to replace me. But why should I let you have your way? I glared at Zhao Ruiyuan with a cold smile, deliberately waving the marriage report in front of Zhao Rui. Zhao Rui's face changed when she saw the marriage report. A look of resentment flashed in her eyes. Young Lame, Fuga doesn't even like you, so how could he possibly marry you? He's enduring all this humiliation for me. Really, if he likes you so much, why did he have to marry me? Why didn't he marry you? That's because Brother Fu didn't want me to suffer. I don't mind telling you. Xiao Gang's scheme to frame you was Brother Fu's idea. He had already planned to give me your job. Brother Fu was going to lure you in by saying his mother was sick and needed care, but then you suddenly changed. So Brother Fu had no choice but to use Xiao Gang to frame you. Zhao Rui was completely fearless. She didn't take me seriously and told me everything. Brother Fu agreed to marry you just for your house, money, and salary. If it weren't for those reasons, he wouldn't have treated you like this. He told me himself that he doesn't like you at all. He just wants to use you. After all, you're easy to manipulate, obedient, and you're obsessed with him. Zhao Rui thought I would be furious and lose my temper, but I only felt indifference. After all, I already knew what Fu Zijing was like in my previous life, so there was no need for her to remind me. I ended Zhao Rui's provocation with a glass of water, and she left, dripping wet and cursing angrily. With the noise gone, I picked up Fu Zijing's marriage report and read it over and over. I had planned to tear it up and throw it away, but now I don't think that way anymore. Since Fu Zijing and Zhao Rui love each other so much, I'll help them out before I leave. I picked up a pen and signed Zhao Rui's name under another name. Then I grabbed the marriage report and headed straight to the marriage registration office. A few minutes later, I got the marriage certificate. Looking at Zhao Rui and Fu Zijing's names on it, I smirked. In this lifetime, I wish Fu Zijing and Zhao Rui a long and loving relationship, never to be separated. 12. When Fu Zijing returned, it was already evening, and he brought me some pastries again. As he entered, I was tidying up. Most of my things had been sold, making the room and house feel somewhat empty. Fu Zijing also sensed something was off. He looked around and said, trying to make conversation, Lame, I noticed that it seems like a lot of things are missing from the house. I replied indifferently, I threw away what I didn't need. Why did you pack your luggage? I lost my job, and I can't stay in this dormitory anymore. It needs to be vacated for other workers. So I packed everything up and sent it to the house my father left me. I told the truth, and Fu Zijing didn't doubt me. He enthusiastically offered me the pastries he had bought. I glanced at them with a cold smile at the corner of my mouth. These pastries weren't to my taste. They were all the flavors Zhao Rui liked. So, Fu Zijing, even if you're pretending to be nice to me, you have to do it properly, don't you? I was annoyed and didn't want to point it out, but I just couldn't hold my tongue. These pastries are all savory. I don't like savory pastries. I prefer sweet ones. Fu Zijing's face showed embarrassment. I was wrong, Lame. It's all my fault. I'll buy your favorite pastries from now on. I didn't say a word and turned to go into the house. Seeing my cold attitude, Fu Zijing's face showed a hurt expression. He brought up the marriage report. Lame, have you signed the marriage report? Signed. And I've already picked up the marriage certificate. Hearing this, Fu Zijing relaxed and said, where's the marriage certificate? Let me see it. There's nothing to see. I've already put it away at the bottom of the box. It's too much trouble to dig it out again. Fu Zijing must have believed my story, as he happily went to prepare dinner. The dinner was sumptuous, with fish and meat. Just as Fu Zijing and I picked up our bowls, there was a hurried knock at the door. Accompanying the knock was Zhao Rui's voice. Brother Fu. Xiao Jiang is suddenly vomiting nonstop. Please come and take a look. I continued eating without any reaction, while Fu Zijing stopped his chopsticks and looked at me. He didn't rush out heedlessly as he used to, but instead looked at me cautiously. Lame, if you're worried, go check it out. Why don't we go together? I won't. I'm not related to them, and I'm not a doctor. Going would just be a nuisance. Fu Zijing hesitated when he heard me say that. The knocking at the door grew more intense, and Zhao Rui's voice was filled with tears. Fu Zijing finally got up and left. Lame, I'll be back soon. I continued eating without much emotion, then cleaned up and went back to my room to sleep after dinner. Fu Zijing didn't return that night. 13. The next day, I calmly moved all the already packed items to the new house. After several trips back and forth, I overheard people at the factory talking. They said Zhao Rui's son had been poisoned last night and almost died. He is still in the hospital fighting for his life and has not yet been out of danger. This is something that didn't happen in my previous life, so I'm quite curious. Why did Xiao Jiang get poisoned? Although curious, I didn't dwell on it, as it has nothing to do with me. Everything was almost moved within a day. Fu Zijing returned the next evening, and I was having dinner alone at the table. I didn't even look up when he came back. I just kept eating. He walked over and sat down at the table. Xiaojiang was poisoned. It's serious, and Rui is very scared alone, so I stayed at the hospital to keep her company. I impatiently interrupted him. Can you not tell me about other people's business? I don't care and I don't want to know. Fu Zijing was momentarily at a loss for words before he finally said, Lame, are you upset? No. There's no reason to be upset over something unrelated. Before Fu Zijing could say anything else, I got up and took the dishes to the kitchen. He stood in the middle of the room, his gaze heavy as he looked at me, but I gave him no response and went straight to the bedroom. Tomorrow I'll be leaving, and I'm calmly washing up and lying in bed, ready to rest. There was a knock at the door. I was impatient. What is it? Lame, open the door. I have something to give you. I opened the door to find Fu Zijing standing there with a red box in his hand. He handed me the box, his face full of anticipation. Open it and see. I opened it without much emotion, only to discover it was a gold ring. This ring hadn't appeared in front of me in my previous life, but I remember its shape. The plum blossom shape is very delicate and beautiful. In my previous life, Zhao Rui wore it on her finger when she came back to sell the house and met me. At that time, Zhao Rui looked like a wealthy lady adorned with jewels, while I was haggard. Zhao Rui raised her finger to show me the ring on her hand. This is the wedding ring Zijing bought for me. I clearly remember the suffocation, anger, and despair I felt at that moment. So why is this ring suddenly in front of me now? I felt no joy, only disgust. I looked at Fu Zijing, enunciating each word. What do you mean? 14. Fu Zijing smiled and explained. This is the wedding ring I bought for you. Try it on and see if it fits. I didn't try it on, just closed the box coldly. Seeing my cold attitude, Fu Zijing's expression turned gloomy. I didn't want to cause any trouble before I left, so I said indifferently, since it's an engagement ring, let's wait until the wedding to wear it. After all, we should emphasize the sense of ceremony. Fu Zijing smiled instantly when he heard me say that. Alright, I'll keep it safe and put it on you at the wedding tomorrow. Wedding? There won't be a wedding for us. Tomorrow's wedding will go on as planned. But the bride won't be me, it will be Zhao Rui. After all, Zhao Rui and Fu Zijing are now legally recognized as a legitimate couple, and I know that Zhao Rui won't let the wedding proceed as planned. After all, while Fu Zijing was busy helping her at the hospital, Zhao Rui also found time to go home. She stopped me and said venomously, she won't let me marry Fu Zijing. Tomorrow's wedding won't go on as planned, and she won't stop at anything to make sure the wedding doesn't happen. Zhao Rui thought I would care about her threats, but I just coldly told her 3 words, do as you please. The night passed quickly, and the next morning Zhao Rui came to find Fu Zijing again. It was still about her son Xiaojiang's situation, and Fu Zijing was very troubled. I'm getting married today. Zhao Rui knelt down and refused to leave the doorway. Brother Fu, you're the one who told me to bring my child here to seek refuge with you. You promised to take care of us. But now Xiaojiang's life is uncertain, and you're going ahead with your wedding. How can you justify this to us? Zhao Rui wailed and called Fu Zijing away. As he followed Zhao Rui out, he glanced back at me, coldly standing at the door. Lame, I'll be back soon, wait for me. The wedding will proceed as planned. I didn't speak, only gave a meaningful smile. Fu Zijing thought I had agreed. I called out to his and Zhao Rui's hurried backs. Fu Zijing, goodbye forever. I took out Fu Zijing and Zhao Rui's marriage certificate and placed it on the table. Then I picked up a pen and wrote a letter to Fu Zijing on the paper. I'm leaving. Fu Zijing, I wish you and Zhao Rui a long and loving marriage. I put down the pen and paper, grabbed my luggage, and headed straight to the train station. I arrived at the train station an hour early and waited, with time ticking away second by second. Finally, the boarding began, and I picked up my luggage to follow the crowd into the boarding gate. I found my seat, sat down, and let out a sigh of relief. This lifetime, young Lame will no longer be anyone's subordinate. I am going to seek a new life that belongs to me. The train slowly pulled out of the station with a whistle, and my gaze drifted out the glass window to the scenery beyond. Farewell. The place where I lived for over 2 decades. As I turned away, I suddenly saw a familiar figure rushing towards me. Fu Zijing, 15. Fu Zijing followed Zhao Rui to the hospital, but he was preoccupied the whole time. Xiao Gang was rushed into the operating room for emergency treatment, while Zhao Rui sobbed beside him. Fu Zijing, however, had no desire to comfort or console. He only felt irritated. He clearly remembered that Xiao Gang had already recovered and was improving when he left the hospital. And the doctor had said there was nothing serious. Why did it get worse overnight? This shouldn't have happened. His gaze fell on Zhao Rui's face. Her eyes were red and swollen, yet not a single tear fell. Seeing Fu Zijing looking at her, Zhao Rui sobbed and leaned in, reaching for his hand. Brother Fu, if something happens to Xiaojiang, how can I go on living? I can't go on. When Zhao Rui leaned closer, Fu Zijing instinctively moved to the side. Zhao Rui was fully prepared for Fu Zijing to embrace her, and then she would throw herself into his arms, hug him tightly, and cry. She was determined to stop Fu Zijing and Yang Lamei's wedding and ruin their marriage, she thought to herself, and Fu Zijing stepped aside. Zhao Rui fell flat on her face unexpectedly, and the pain made her see stars. Fu Zijing, over there, was also stunned to see Zhao Rui sprawled on the ground. Zhao Rui screamed loudly, and as he hesitated, he was about to reach out to help her up. A man came running hurriedly from the end of the corridor. It was an engineer surnamed Li, whom Fu Zijing had called to help prepare for the wedding. Engineer Li was out of breath as he ran. Zijing, something big has happened to Zijing. Seeing Engineer Li, Fu Zijing's heart sank. He retracted his hand that was about to help Zhao Rui and quickly walked toward Engineer Li. What happened? Did Lamei get angry? No, it's not that Lamei is angry. It's Lamei. Lamei has left, gone. Fu Zijing wondered if he had heard wrong. Where could young Lamei have gone? Where could she have gone? Both her parents are dead, and now she only has herself. Engineer Li handed it to Fu Zijing. Look at this. Weren't you supposed to marry young Lamei? How come the marriage certificate is between you and Zhao Rui, and young Lamei left you a farewell letter? Fu Zijing snatched the marriage certificate and letter from Engineer Li's hands. Upon seeing the name on the marriage certificate, his eyes widened in fury. When he saw young Lamei's message, Fu Zijing bolted out the door. Behind him, Zhao Rui's sorrowful cry echoed, but Fu Zijing did not look back. Fu Zijing had only one thought. He had to keep young Lamei. He was determined to keep young Lamei no matter what. 15 years later, I returned home in glory after carving out a bloody path in Shenzhen. Accompanied by my assistant, I returned to Jiangqing, where I had lived for over 2 decades, to invest. Jiangqing has undergone rapid changes in the past 15 years, and the once impoverished and backward city is now unrecognizable. The factory where I once worked has closed down, and my former colleagues and acquaintances have all gone their separate ways. My assistant accompanied me as we walked through the streets, gazing at the myriad lights, and I was filled with profound emotions. I recalled my previous life, when I was in my 30s. Toiling day and night in the countryside, my face is weathered, my hands are rough and cracked, and I don't have a single presentable outfit. Now, I live in a spacious and bright villa in Shenzhen, drive a car, and run my own company. I married a man who cherishes me and gave birth to lively and adorable children. My in-laws treat me like their own, and my family is harmonious and happy. It all stemmed from my initial choice. Who could have imagined that 2 choices would lead to 2 completely different outcomes? Walking through the streets of Jiangqing, the sound of chestnuts being roasted and sold echoed in my ears. I turned my head, and my assistant had already called out to the man selling roasted chestnuts. The middle-aged man selling roasted chestnuts wore a thick padded jacket, and one of his legs was slightly disabled. He greeted his assistant with a flattering smile, and the familiar Jiangqing accent made me feel at home. I took the initiative to ask, "Old man, you've been living here for quite a few years, haven't you?" "Yes, I'm a native of Jiangqing, and I've been living here for nearly 40 years. The man skillfully weighed the roasted chestnuts and expertly packaged them to hand over. As he handed over the money, the man looked up at me. Our eyes met, and I saw shock and disbelief in his. The bag of roasted chestnuts he was handing me suddenly dropped to the ground. His voice rose, trembling. Are you Lamei?" I looked at the middle-aged man, his face etched with hardship and weariness. "Do you know me? Who are you?" I am Fu Zijing. Fu Zijing, 17. I stared in shock at the man before me, unable to reconcile the old, haggard, and disabled man with the handsome and dashing Fu Zijing. Counting his age, Fu Zijing is now under 40. But he looks like an old man in his 60s. Fu Zijing's gaze at me was complicated, his lips twitching. "Lamei, why didn't you give me a chance? Don't you know how long I've been looking for you?" I don't understand why Fu Zijing is looking for me. He loves Zhao Rui so much, and I've already stepped aside for them. Shouldn't he be happy about that? But Fu Zijing's appearance clearly wasn't like that. Although Fu Zijing in his previous life wasn't the kind of person who could have whatever he wanted, his later promotion to the chief engineer of a Fortune 500 company was a sign of success and satisfaction in his career. What happened in this life that made him stay here selling roasted chestnuts instead of going to a big city? Although Fu Zijing and I are old acquaintances, there's not much to reminisce about. Fu Zijing looked at me, too ashamed to exchange polite greetings. The difference in status making him feel embarrassed, he limped away, pushing his cart of roasted chestnuts. I had no intention of prying into his affairs. To me, Fu Zijing was just a passing stranger. I have long since let go. The next day, during an investment meeting, I unexpectedly ran into the factory director. The director looked at me with a sigh and spontaneously brought up Fu Zijing. Only then did I learn what Fu Zijing had gone through after I left, upon realizing he had married Zhao Rui. Fu Zijing refused to let things stand and decided to dissolve his marital relationship with her, but Zhao Rui was unwilling. She fed her son Xiaojiang rat poison in an attempt to sabotage my wedding with Fu Zijing. Initially, the rat poison was not overdosed, and Xiaojiang was successfully rescued in the hospital and out of danger. Unwilling to accept the failure of her scheme, Zhao Rui secretly fed Xiaojiang rat poison again on the morning of my wedding with Fu Zijing. As a result, Xiaojiang was rushed to the emergency room and barely survived after several days of intensive care, but the person was completely useless, reduced to a complete wreck, dragging her son, who had become a useless wreck. Zhao Rui was dumbfounded. She had fully expected that after I left, Fu Zijing would go along with the mistake and marry her, taking care of her and Xiaojiang. To her surprise, Fu Zijing was unwilling. Zhao Rui then threw a tantrum, forcing Fu Zijing to take responsibility for her. It was only then that Fu Zijing saw Zhao Rui's true colors. He didn't want to marry Zhao Rui, so of course she wouldn't let go. She spread rumors everywhere that Fu Zijing had slept with her, which led to my anger and departure. She demanded that Fu Zijing take responsibility for her and her disabled son. Zhao Rui refused to divorce at all costs, and Fu Zijing wouldn't agree to marry her either. Once deeply in love, the two now loathed each other. Zhao Rui refused to let go and relentlessly pursued Fu Zijing. Later, she used her tactics to spend a night with him, and then Zhao Rui became pregnant. Upon hearing that Zhao Rui was pregnant, Fu Zijing's mother came to persuade Fu Zijing and Zhao Rui to live a good life together. Fu Zijing had also come to terms with it and planned to live a good life with Zhao Rui, just as the two were preparing to live a good life together. An unexpected event occurred. 18. Fu Zijing's mother broke her leg again, just like in her previous life. Zhao Rui has already given birth to Fu Zijing's child, and she is unwilling to give up her job to take care of Fu Zijing's mother as I did. Since she refused to sacrifice herself, Fu Zijing had to take leave to care for his mother. Without a source of income, they were living off their savings, and life was getting increasingly difficult. Zhao Rui was attracted to Fu Zijing's engineer status, hoping for a better life. Now, Fu Zijing is struggling due to excessive leave and no salary. Moreover, the factory has expressed dissatisfaction with Fu Zijing for not being punctual. Later, as the factory's performance declined and layoffs began, Fu Zijing, the least likely engineer to be laid off, became a laid-off worker. Zhao Rui, the worker who joined halfway, was also justly laid off. Without a source of income, life was tough. With two disabled family members and a baby to feed, Zhao Rui, who had hoped to rely on Fu Zijing for a better life, was completely dumbfounded. She didn't want to stay with Fu Zijing, who had no future, and insisted on divorcing him to remarry. Fu Zijing hated Zhao Rui to death, blaming her for his current state, and thus dragged his feet on the divorce. The two switched roles from before, pulling and tugging at each other. Zhao Rui was never one to back down easily, and since Fu Zijing refused to divorce, she dumped her mentally challenged child Xiaojiang and Fu Zijing's child on him to take care of, while she went off to the city to indulge in her wild ways. Zhao Rui was beautiful, well-dressed, and spoke in a coquettish manner. She quickly found another man and, from then on, never went back, spending her days indulging in pleasure and accompanying men. However, Fu Zijing couldn't abandon his paralyzed mother, so he stayed in the countryside to take care of her, occasionally doing small business to support the family. When Zhao Rui found another man and returned to demand a divorce from Fu Zijing, he refused to divorce her, intending to drag her down with him. Zhao Rui's man has some clout and broke Fu Zijing's leg. Listening to the factory director's account, I thought of Fu Zijing's weather-beaten face I saw last night, which was a living reflection of my past life. I couldn't help but laugh. The wheel of karma turns, and no one escapes the heavens' justice. Story 2. After being reborn, I took back all the kindness I had shown you by. I no longer starve myself and stuff the saved steamed buns into his arms. I no longer work day and night to subsidize the family so that he can study with peace of mind. In my previous life, Yubai hid most of his salary and secretly gave it to Xu Yuan to start a business. Later, when my gastric cancer flared up and I coughed up blood every day, he, who had achieved success and fame, said that we had no common language. He asked me to let him and Xu Yuan, that ill-fated couple, be together. This time, I will grant his wish. I opened the countdown to the college entrance examination on the calendar and decided to take a path without him. 1. When my cousin handed me the college entrance examination material she borrowed, she looked at me playfully and said, "These are borrowed for your Yubai, right? You've really gone to great lengths for him. Now that the college entrance examination has been restored, if he gets into university in the future, you'll finally have a better life." I smiled but didn't say anything. My cousin was wrong. These books were borrowed for myself. Moreover, in the days to come, there will be no sweetness between Yubai and me. There will only be endless bitterness. However, fortunately, I don't plan to be with him anymore. 2. From now on, I no longer have to starve myself day after day. I no longer save food to fill Yubai's mouth. I no longer set up a snack stall outside regardless of the cold and heat to support his studies, enduring the cold looks and mockery of others. In my previous life, Yubai finally made a name for himself. He became a teacher and a professor. He disliked me, a street vendor, for showing myself in public, which embarrassed him as a professor at a prestigious university. He left his paralyzed mother to me. From now on, you can take care of mom at home to avoid being laughed at by others when you go out. I took the meager household money he gave me. On the one hand, I had to prepare delicious meals for my daughter who was acting coquettishly. On the other hand, I had to endure the bad temper of his mother. I fed her every day and took care of her washing. In the end, I usually just ate a few mouthfuls casually. And day after day passed like that. At that time, I didn't know how much income he had. I often tightened my belt and still wanted to make the best arrangements for the family. When I was extremely hungry, I drank cold water mouthful by mouthful in the kitchen in the middle of the meal. It seemed that my stomach became numb, then I wouldn't feel hungry anymore. It wasn't until later that I knew. Yubai hid most of his salary and secretly gave it to Xu Yuan to start a business. Later, his mother died. And our daughter grew up, and I was left with nothing but full-body illnesses. At that time, Yubai disliked me even more. He said that I didn't understand his ambitions and couldn't touch his thoughts. As a housewife, I had no common language with him. He hugged his head in pain and said that he had had enough. It seemed that he was more wrong than me. Even our daughter said, "Mom, let Dad go. Don't you realize that he's only in pain every day when he's with you? Aunt Sue has been waiting for him for so many years. He wasted his whole life on you. Let him spend his remaining days with Aunt Sue in peace." Compared with me, a housewife who knew nothing, Xu Yuan, a successful businesswoman, could give my daughter luxury cars and designer bags without blinking an eye. She took my daughter to high-end places and introduced her to social celebrities. But it was me who taught my daughter to speak word by word when she was babbling. It was me who carried her to the hospital in the rain when she had a high fever in the middle of the night. I hysterically smashed everything in the house. I said that I would never let those ungrateful people have a good time. At that time, they looked at me like I was a lunatic. Later, Yubai simply moved into Xu Yuan's house with our daughter. When my gastric cancer flared up and I vomited blood while lying on the ground, they were like a real family of 3, traveling around the country. Their photos were posted online. One was a learned scholar from a prestigious university, and the other was a wealthy business elite. Everyone said they were a perfect match. So, I decided to let Yubai and Xu Yuan, that ill-fated couple, be together. I don't want him anymore. I will never give birth to that ungrateful child again. In this life, I will take a path without them. 3. When I got home, Yubai was cooking noodles in the kitchen. He used the 1 gene of fine noodles that he exchanged with 10 gene of coarse grains. He used eggs to make the soup base and added the vegetables I planted. He made a bowl of fragrant noodles and brought it to Xu Yuan. Xu Yuan, wearing a floral shirt, stood beside him, sniffing cutely. She said softly, "It smells so good, brother Bai. Your cooking is really good. I wish I could eat your noodles every day." In the village, food is still distributed according to work points every day. Xu Yuan and Yubai are both educated youths who went to the countryside. When Yubai first came, he couldn't even dig the ground. Xu Yuan was even more useless. She hurt her toe on the first day and rested at the educated youth spot for half a month. When it came to sharing the harvest, they received very little food and often didn't have enough to eat, until Yubai saved me when I fell into the water. The scene of us hugging each other, both of us soaked, was seen by others. Rumors spread in the village. And he had to marry me. After we got married, we received more work points. He exchanged the little food we had for fine white noodles, and Xu Yuan became a frequent visitor to our house. Yubai smiled and said, "If you like it, you can come often. Anyway, you don't eat much." He turned around and saw me, and his expression froze awkwardly. Before, he secretly cooked for Xu Yuan when I wasn't at home. This was the first time I caught him in the act. Xu Yuan looked innocent and said, "Sister-in-law. You're back, brother, by specially made noodles. Do you want to have some?" She looked so at ease that she was more like the mistress of the house than me. Indeed, Yubai gave her the confidence. I sneered in my heart and said to Yubai, "From now on, our work points will be calculated separately, and we'll eat our own food." He did this before because he knew, even if I was starving to death, I would fill his stomach first. But this time, I'm not that stupid anymore. Before Yubai could speak, Xu Yuan was on the verge of tears and said, "Sister-in-law, don't blame brother Bai. It's my fault. Please don't quarrel. I won't come here again." She rushed out crying, and Yubai looked at me disappointedly and said, "Jian, do you have to be so mean? How could you become like this?" He used this trick on me before, and it worked especially well. At that time, I was full of him in my heart. He was an educated youth who went to the countryside. He was tall and gentle, completely different from the sweaty men in the village. If he hadn't saved me when I accidentally fell into the water, we wouldn't have ended up together. My low self-esteem made me always care about his thoughts. I treated him like a bodhisattva enshrined in a shrine. I was afraid that he would be unhappy in the slightest, but now, I just curled my lips coldly. "Think whatever you want." For Yubai was startled by the coldness on my face and stared at me without saying a word. I ignored him and went into the room alone. A few minutes later, Yubai chased out with the bowl in his hand. Indeed, he specially cooked the noodles for Xu Yuan, and he naturally wanted to feed them to her. A sharp pain rushed through my heart. I once thought that after living a lifetime, those wounds had long been buried by time, but it turned out that it wasn't that easy to get over. Those feelings of unwillingness were deeply engraved in my heart like scars. They reminded me over and over again. I withdrew my gaze and drew a circle heavily on the day of the college entrance examination on the calendar. In my previous life, I originally had the opportunity to take the college entrance examination. Although I grew up in the village, I also studied until the first year of high school. Later, the college entrance examination was restored, but I had already married Yubai. We didn't have enough money at home, and someone had to subsidize the family. Naturally, I was the one who made the sacrifice. When I finally supported Yubai to succeed, when I picked up the books again, our daughter, who had no one to take care of her, was crying loudly beside me. Yubai rushed out of the study with an impatient look on his face. He asked me if I knew how to be a mother and why I was so heartless as to leave our daughter alone. I suggested that he give me a hand, but he questioned me, asking what we would use to support the family if he didn't work. I compromised step by step like this, until wrinkles crept up my eyes, and the years wasted away. In the silent night, I once held the college entrance examination materials of that year and reviewed and read them over and over again. It seemed that only in this way could I feel the regret in my heart. Now that God has given me a chance to start over, I will never allow anyone to block my path. I opened the book and murmured in my heart, "Just 1 month. I just need to wait for 1 more month." 5. When Yubai came back, it was already night. Looking at the cold stove at home, he was obviously stunned. In the past, no matter how late he came home, there was hot water and food waiting for him. It had only been a day, and he was already not used to it. Especially when he saw that I had moved his things to the firewood room. His footsteps lingered outside the door for a long time. Just as I was about to fall asleep, Yubai's voice came. "I was wrong about today's matter, but Xiaosu is not an outsider. We came to the countryside from the same place. Now that she's a girl and unfamiliar with the place, as her brother, I naturally have to take care of her. She's used to eating fine food in the city and can't swallow these coarse grains. She was already thin from hunger before. As her brother, how can I just ignore her?" Brother, he really found a good excuse for himself. In my previous life, this brother slept with his good sister in the same bed. The room fell silent again, and only the sound of Yubai's and my breathing rose and fell. I don't know how long it took, and his voice sounded muffled again. "If you're not happy, I won't let her come to the house for a meal anymore." I turned over and pretended not to hear him. I know that no matter how many words he says, it's useless. As long as Xu Yuan sheds a few tears in front of him and pleads softly, he will forget all his principles. I'm already used to it. 6. In the following days, I went to work as usual every day and squeezed out all my spare time to spend on my books. Yubai planned to review carefully in the last period of time, but since I separated our food, in order to make a living and continue to give fine grains and noodles to Xu Yuan, he also had to go to work with a hoe every day. Gradually, rumors spread in the village. Some people said that I ate white flour steamed buns every day at home. I deliberately held Yubai back. not letting him take the college entrance examination, and only allowing him to stay in the countryside with me. In the past, there were families formed by educated youths and village girls in the village, but those men, after finding the opportunity, tried every means to return to the city, for a better life. They even abandoned their wives and children. When someone asked Yubai about it, he mumbled and refused to make it clear. I didn't know about it until 5 days later. The neighbor's aunt looked at me with approval and said, "You little girl have some plans in your heart. You have to keep the man by your side and manage him well. What's the use of going to university and studying? If he makes progress, he'll fly away." I know that besides standing up for me, she was more interested in watching the excitement in their eyes. I, a village girl, was not worthy of Yubai from the city, so I naturally had to find ways to tie him down. I felt nauseous. Just as I was about to speak, a voice came from behind me. "Sister." I turned around and saw Ji-young walking over, carrying a sack on his back and sweating profusely. After entering the door, he patted the food in the sack and laughed twice. "Sister, if you want to eat white flour, just tell me. You can eat as much as you want in the future. Now is a crucial period. You should let brother-in-law study at home. If he gets into university in the past, he can take you to the city to live a good life." 7. My mother passed away when I was 5 years old, and Ji-young was only 2 years old at that time. Not long after, my father married another woman. Although he tried his best to take care of us, it wasn't easy to grow up under my stepmother's hand, especially after my father had another child. I don't know how Ji-young got these grains, but looking at him, who was clearly in his growing years but as thin as a bamboo pole, my eyes couldn't help but turn sour. Ji-young was anxious and said, "Sister, what happened? Did brother-in-law bully you? Tell me, and I'll teach him a lesson." In my previous life, after I went to the city, my life was in a mess. At that time, Ji-young happened to come. He had been living a hard life in the countryside. But when he saw me eating a bowl of white rice with pickles, his face full of hardships, with red eyes, he stuffed the more than 200 yuan left in his pocket into my hand. When I chased after him, he, in his 30s, hunched over and ran fast. He was afraid of being caught up with me. In that family, I was a mother and wife who couldn't have any complaints. I was also an uneducated village girl who only deserved to live in Yubai's shadow. I hadn't felt such unreasonable favor for a long time. I smiled and said, "Sister is fine, I'm living a good life," but before I knew it, tears streamed down my face. 8. I found an excuse to soothe Ji-young and sent him away. I know he didn't believe me, but I can't add to his burden anymore. In the evening, Yubai, who had been working, came back. Looking at the pile of grain on the ground, his face first showed joy, then, as if remembering something, he said awkwardly, "Did your family come?" I sneered, "Yeah. They heard that I made my man work like crazy every day so that I could eat white flour. They were afraid that I would be drowned by other people's gossip." Yubai's face turned red. "Lin-shi, I know I'm sorry for you, but don't involve Xiaoshu in this. She's a girl from the city. She can't stand those rumors. I was afraid something would happen to her. So he didn't continue, but I knew what he meant. At that time, our daughter suddenly had a high fever and needed to be hospitalized. All the money in my hand had been spent on maintaining the household. In the end, we had to borrow money from Yubai's colleague to pay for the treatment. His colleague was puzzled at that time. "Professor Liu, your salary is not low. Why don't you have any money for this emergency?" Yubai didn't dare to say that he had given most of his money to Xu Yuan. He pushed the blame onto me. He said he had given all his salary to me. And who knew that I was wasteful and didn't have any money left in the end? When I found out, I had already gained a reputation for being wasteful and selfish in Yubai's circle. Everyone sympathized with him for marrying such a wife. Even our neighbor stood up for him. "Jian, I know you don't have much education. You eat and drink well every day, but the suit that Lao Lu is wearing has frayed edges. If you continue like this, if one day Lao Lu figures it out and leaves you, it will be too late for you to cry." I was so angry that I went back and questioned him why he treated me like that. Yubai, on the other hand, said confidently, "What's wrong with you being a housewife and being criticized? Anyway, you don't go out and meet people often. Xiaoshu is different. She's doing business outside, and her reputation is the most important thing. Don't let these things affect her." Now that time has turned back, Yubai is still the same Yubai. I don't want to say another word to him. When I turn around and want to leave, Yubai stops me. He said nervously, "Jian, can you not go and talk to Xiaoshu about these things? She's a girl with a thin skin. I promise that after I get into university and we go back to the city, I will ignore her. We will live a good life together in the future." It was as if there was a saw in my heart, and my heart was torn with pain. I know that the unwillingness buried deep inside me has resurfaced. I really want to ask him loudly, just like in my previous life. Ask him why he treated me like this. Why is it that only Xu Yuan's dignity is worth protecting, and mine isn't? But I just lower my eyes and hide all my emotions. No matter how many words I say, it's meaningless. You can't wake up someone who is pretending to be asleep. I twitch the corners of my mouth and look at him coldly. Don't worry, I won't cause trouble for her. I turn around and go back to the room, looking at the striking date on the calendar. I say to myself, Jian, you don't have to endure it for much longer. Just wait for 20 more days, you will be free. 9. Not only will I not expose this lie, but I will also let this situation continue. Yu Bai thought he had infinite time in the future, but he didn't know that this was his only chance to take the college entrance examination. When he returned to the city, his lazy younger brothers had already occupied the house and the job at home, and his mean mother not only wouldn't support him going to university but also always wanted to suck his blood to support his other sons. At that time, he would have no money, no house, no job, and Xu Yuan, who was always relying on him, where would Yu Bai get the energy to take the exam again? However, all these things have nothing to do with me. The time for the college entrance examination is getting closer day by day, and I don't want to waste any more time with him. Perhaps out of guilt, Yu Bai didn't go to see Xu Yuan in the following days. Even the dry food he gave her every day was sent by another educated youth. He started to leave early and come back late. One day, he even brought back a nest of bird eggs. When we were newly married, he once brought me a nest of bird eggs from the forest, just like today. At that time, I cooked them, and Yu Bai and I ate them, feeling sweet, but now, I just feel nauseous. What does he think of me? Does he think he can coax me with a sweet date after slapping me? 10. In the face of these changes, Xu Yuan was the first one who couldn't stand it. One day, when I was gathering firewood in the back mountain, she blocked my way. Xu Yuan was wearing a light pink shirt, and her slightly open collar revealed her white neck. She was like a flower about to bloom in the forest. She didn't fit in with this countryside. She was worlds apart from someone like me who grew up rooted in the land. She noticed my wandering gaze, and a trace of pride flashed in her eyes. It looks good, doesn't it? I bought it with the cloth tickets that Brother Bai got for me. She thought I would be angry, but I wasn't. In my previous life, Yu Bai gave her even more. He gave her the startup capital for her business and introduced her to his contacts. I was so sad that I couldn't sleep at night, and I quarreled with him countless times. But later, I was tired of arguing and didn't care anymore. When I was about to leave, Xu Yuan blocked my way again. Jian, do you think if you didn't deliberately fall into the water and scheme for Brother Bai to save you, he would take a fancy to you? Brother Bai doesn't belong to you, and he doesn't belong to this remote countryside either. He has so many ideals and ambitions. After he gets into university, there will be a vast world outside. Do you think you will be worthy of him then? Xu Yuan said these words to me in my previous life. At that time, she was sitting in a luxury car and looking at me with disdain as I came back from the vegetable market. Brother Bai married you to have children for him and take care of the elderly. Your existence is no different from that of a nanny, but he gave me his money and love. At that time, my heart ached as if it had been stabbed, but now, I just sneered. Have you said enough, since you like him so much? Why didn't you be with him before we got married? At that time, Xu Yuan was flirting with the village chief's son, trying to find a way back to the city through their relationship. Later, the college entrance examination was restored, but she didn't pay attention to her studies all these years and couldn't get into university on her own, so she thought of Yu Bai again. Xu Yuan's face twisted strangely, and she suddenly knelt down with a thud. Tears welled up in her eyes. Sister-in-law, I promise I will stay away from Brother Bai. I beg you not to report this. It will ruin him. Before I could figure out what was wrong with her, she suddenly pushed me, and she rolled down the hillside. When I fell to the ground, my ankle was scratched by the scattered firewood, and blood dripped down, but a figure rushed out from behind and ran towards Xu Yuan quickly. When I finally came to, I saw Yu Bai holding Xu Yuan in his arms. Xu Yuan was covered in mud but unhurt. He frowned and looked at me coldly. I've already said that you can take your anger out on me. Why are you picking on an innocent person? Innocent person. I lifted my injured pant leg and said coldly, when did you go blind? Would the person who hurt someone injure themselves like this? Yu Bai's gaze swept over the bloodstain on my wound, and there was hesitation on his face. At this time, Xu Yuan with tears in her eyes tugged at his sleeve pitifully. Brother Bai, it's my fault. Just think I did it. I was just scared. She said she would report our matter to the commune. If you have a stain on you, you may not be able to take the college entrance examination in the future. As she cried, she fell into Yu Bai's arms with a pale face. Yu Bai believed her. Perhaps he just found an excuse for his heart that had already been biased. He gave me a cold look and turned away, holding Xu Yuan in his arms. Looking at their backs, I released my clenched fist. The coolness surging in my heart seemed to be slowly fading away. It doesn't matter. There are only 10 days left. I can get through it. 11. In order to comfort Xu Yuan, who was too sad, Yubai came back very late. From that day on, he seemed to have finally found a reason to meet Xu Yuan again and couldn't help it. Even at night, he still met her. I don't know what they were doing outside, and I don't care, lying on the bed. I kept thinking about the questions I had seen and the texts I had memorized during the day. The young body is really useful. In my previous life, when I was older, I couldn't remember an article even after reading it 10 or 100 times, but now, I find that they have already been integrated in my mind. This feeling makes me feel very at ease, but when I closed my eyes and fell asleep, there was always an inexplicable worry in my heart. It was as if I had forgotten something important. It wasn't until the middle of the night that I was awakened by a huge noise, and I suddenly remembered, in my previous life, it rained heavily at this time. The house that Yubai and I lived in was specially vacated for the educated youth by the village. The house was in disrepair, and it couldn't hold up under the soaking of the rain. At that time, Yubai and I happened to be away, but this time, I just happened to be there. The raindrops as big as beans fell on my face and body. A thunderclap that resounded through the sky flashed overhead with lightning. It illuminated the tiles scattered around me and the fallen wooden beam. Looking at the dilapidated and dangerous house, I shivered and groped in the dark night against the rain. God finally gave me a chance to start over. I haven't been admitted to university yet, and I haven't led Jiang to a good life. I can't die here. But just then, the wall beside me collapsed towards me with a rumble under the washing of the rain. The heavy soil blocks pressed on my lower body, like putting a pair of shackles on me. I struggled and shouted desperately. However, in the overwhelming rain, no one could hear me. I suddenly hated it. I hated why God chose to let me start over but tortured me like this. I hated Yubai even more. If he hadn't gone to see Xu Yuan today, I wouldn't have ended up in such a situation. But what I hated even more was myself. I was so focused on the college entrance examination that I even forgot such an important thing. The rain kept pouring down, as if it wanted to take away all the heat from my body. Just as my consciousness was about to fade, I heard someone calling my name loudly. I struggled to open my eyes and saw Jiang braving the rain, digging at the mud with his bare hands, crying and laughing. "Sister, don't fall asleep, I'll get you out soon. Come on, everyone, my sister is here, please help." At his call, my father came with more people. When everyone carried me to the open ground, someone suddenly remembered. "Oh no, is the educated youth you also pressed underneath? Everyone, help look for him." But soon, they found that there was no need to look anymore, because Yubai was standing in the crowd with an umbrella, together with Xu Yuan. 12. This sudden change caused most of the people in the village to gather around. Some of them held torches, and some held kerosene lamps, illuminating the open ground brightly. Yubai was squeezed in the crowd. When he saw my situation, his face changed. The umbrella fell to the ground, and he ran towards me quickly, but Jiang moved faster. He kicked Yubai to the ground and then punched him in the muddy water. "You bastard, where were you when my sister had an accident? Tell me, where were you? Do you know that she almost died just now?" Xu Yuan beside him let out a scream and tried to pull Jiang, but Jiang slapped her across the face. "Bitch, I've endured you for a long time. You eat the white flour steamed buns that my brother-in-law gave you every day, and you still have the nerve to rely on my sister. Are you so cheap that you have to steal someone else's man to be happy?" Yubai appeared with Xu Yuan in the middle of the night, leaving me, his wife, behind. This already made everyone feel strange. What Jiang said stirred up a lot of discussion. "I've always said that there's something fishy between them. I've seen the educated youth you send things to that educated youth Sue more than once. Once I caught him, and he said that Ji Yan asked him to send them. TSK, the man from the city is unreliable. Even though he has a wife, he still flirts with other women and doesn't have the intention to settle down. That educated youth Sue is the one without shame. She clearly knows that he has a wife but still flirts with him. Is this the upbringing of people from the city?" Everyone talked one after another, making Xu Yuan blush with shame. She cried and looked at Yubai, who was lying on the ground. "Brother Bai." But Yubai seemed to be in a daze. He struggled to get up. "Jiang, let me go. I want to see your sister." Xu Yuan, who didn't get a response, sobbed and rushed out, covering her face, amidst the pointing and whispering of the crowd. At this time, the rain was getting heavier. My father glanced at my pale face and stopped Jiang, who wanted to strike again. Jiang gave Yubai one last punch, knocking him to the ground completely. He spat with a fierce expression. "Don't think my sister is easy to bully. I'll let you off this time. If there's a next time, I'll beat you to death." Since we, the parties involved, were leaving, the crowd gradually dispersed. Only Yubai, who was lying motionless in the rain, was left. Under the dark night, Yubai and I were getting farther and farther apart, step by step. Just like in our previous life, ever since I got married, there was no longer a place for me to live at my parents' home. The village party secretary could only arrange for me to stay in a makeshift storage room that had just been tidied up. After seeing that I was settled, my father, urged by my stepmother, turned and left. What had happened today was so sudden. I stared blankly at the empty wall. It wasn't until I suddenly remembered the textbook still lying in the muddy water that I stood up abruptly. Ji Yang stopped me and handed me a package. "Sister, is this what you're looking for?" I took it and couldn't help crying tears of joy when I saw the intact books inside. Thankfully, everything was okay. Ji Yang asked me, "Sister, are you going to take the college entrance examination?" I didn't know when he had discovered this, nor when he had learned about Yubai and Su Yuan's affair. Come to think of it, as a sister, I've been quite a failure. I nodded bitterly. Ji Yang asked again, "And what about him, Xiao Yang?" "I'm going to divorce him." Ji Yang stared at me with wide eyes, speechless for a long time. I knew he could stand up for me and beat Yubai, even force him to apologize, but he had never thought about me getting a divorce. In this era, once a woman mentioned divorce, even if it was the man's fault, it would be the woman who was stigmatized. Just because she was a woman, just as he was about to say something, there was a knock on the door. Yubai's muffled voice came through. "Ji Yan, are you there?" "It's me." A trace of hostility flashed in Ji Yang's eyes. "I'll go and drive him away." I stopped him. Some things should have been made clear long ago. Besides, I had been holding back some words for a long time. 14. Standing at the door, Yubai was soaking wet, with bruises and cuts all over his face, the result of Ji Yang's beating. But he looked at me with concern. "Ji Yan, did you get hurt just now?" The concern in his eyes didn't seem fake, but I only found it extremely ironic. I didn't know what meaning there was in his words now. I said calmly, "Yubai, let's get a divorce." A bolt of lightning flashed across the sky, and Yubai's expression seemed to freeze. After a long while, his lips trembled. "Ji Yan, I know you're angry. I was wrong about what happened today. I shouldn't have been absent when you were in trouble. I'll change. I promise this will never happen again." I had no patience to argue with him anymore and said directly, "What about Su Yuan? Are you going to ignore the good sister you care so much about? Are you still going to explain your divided loyalties as the affection of a brother for his sister? How long are you going to deceive yourself?" As if I had hit a nerve, Yubai's lips moved several times before he finally said, "No, my care for Su Yuan was only temporary. I've already sent a letter home saying that I'll take you back to the city with me in the future. I've already decided to spend my whole life with you, really." But I no longer cared. Yubai's eyes turned lonely, and he tugged at the corners of his mouth. "It doesn't matter. I'll wait until you figure it out. We still have so much time ahead. I'll definitely make you forgive me." I didn't say anything more. In his expectant gaze, I calmly closed the door. There were only 3 days left. From now on, I would embrace a new life, a life without Yubai. There was nothing left to say between us. 15. On the day of the college entrance examination, Ji Yang sent me off early in the morning. At the examination site, I saw Yubai and Su Yuan standing beside him. Su Yuan seemed to be saying something to him, but he was distracted until he saw us. These past few days, Yubai had lingered outside my door several times. Whether he pleaded or pretended to be pitiful, I refused to see him. When he saw me now, he greeted me excitedly, his voice gentle and ingratiating. "Ji Yan, did you come to see me off for the exam?" "Don't worry, I'll do my best. After we go back to the city, I'll definitely make sure you live a good life." Before I could speak, Ji Yang said coldly, "You're overthinking it. My sister is here to take the exam herself." "Take the exam? Her?" Su Yuan beside him exclaimed in surprise, her face full of disdain. In her eyes, the college entrance examination was for educated youth like them. It had nothing to do with a village girl like me. Yubai was also taken aback. It was rather ironic that even Ji Yang knew I was preparing for the exam, yet he, who had been living with me day in and day out, hadn't noticed. Just as he was about to say something, the exam bell rang. I followed the crowd, passing him by and leaving him far behind. This exam was something I had longed for my entire life. At this moment, I wanted to focus all my attention on it. Yubai, Su Yuan, they were all cast from my mind. 16. 3 days passed quickly. After the exam, I didn't return to the village. My cousin ran a small clothing store in the neighboring town. Knowing that I wanted to save money, she introduced me to work there. Every day, I got up at dawn to clean the store, organize the goods, and then greet customers with a smile and see them off with a smile. I felt extremely fulfilled here, almost forgetting the passage of time, until one day, Ji-young rushed in, out of breath. He grabbed my hands excitedly, his eyes beaming with joy. "Sister, you made it, you got into university." My heart seemed to leap into my throat. I held the admission notice, which I had dreamed of in my previous life, my hands trembling, tears streamed down my face before I even realized it. Finally, I had finally broken free from the fate of my past life. From now on, I would embark on a brand new path. Ji-young wiped my tears away and said proudly, "Sister, you don't know yet, do you? Besides you, only one other educated youth in the village got into university. Yu-bai and Su-yuan both failed." It's ridiculous how confident they were before, and now they've become a laughingstock. I wasn't surprised, although Yu-bai was knowledgeable. He hadn't focused on his studies recently because of his involvement with Su-yuan. As for Su-yuan, she hadn't passed the exam in her previous life either. I said calmly, "Did you take care of the things I asked you to do?" At first, Ji-young didn't agree with my divorce, but these days I had proven to him that I could live well on my own without Yu-bai. Moreover, I had been admitted to university. He raised his eyebrows. "It's done. I read the divorce agreement you wrote to Yu-bai in front of the village party secretary." Sister, you should have seen his expression. He seemed to be greatly shocked, and his face turned deathly pale. He also said he wouldn't agree and would wait for you forever. Tisk tsk, now he's acting like this. What was he doing before? I smiled indifferently. No matter what Yu-bai's reaction was, it wouldn't affect me in the slightest. He was just a stranger now. From then on, our lives would have no more intersections. 17. The last time I saw Yu-bai was 6 years later. By then, I had graduated, been assigned to a job, and had a fiancé. One day, Ji-young came to the provincial capital and invited us to have dinner together. Since I went to university, I had brought him along. In this era, there were opportunities everywhere. At first, I taught him to set up a stall outside the school gate. After the business took off, he learned from others and started wholesaling goods from Guangzhou to sell. Later, his business grew larger and larger, and he bought a house and a car. After not seeing him for a long time, he was dressed in a suit, looking high-spirited in every gesture, more impressive than most city people. Just as we finished our meal at the restaurant and walked out, we saw a vendor not far away, hunched over, limping, and drawing sugar paintings for children. When he saw me, a look of panic flashed across his face. He even left the money behind and limped away, pushing his cart. From now on, I no longer had to starve myself day after day. In fact, I had heard quite a bit about him over the years, mainly because Ji-young had always been at odds with him and often went out of his way to inquire about him. I knew that after he returned to the city, he still married Su-yuan. He had planned to take the college entrance examination again, but there was no money at home. And there was no longer a fool to support him. After struggling for a long time, he had to accept his fate. Later, unable to find a job, he started setting up a stall to do business, but Su-yuan, who was used to a comfortable life, couldn't stand it. She had originally wanted to live a good life with Yu-bai and naturally didn't want to go out early and come back late to help him with the stall. One day, she swindled a large sum of money from someone in Yu-bai's name, abandoned their newborn daughter, and ran away. The creditors, unable to find her, broke one of Yu-bai's legs and then stood outside his house every day, forcing him to pay back the money. Since then, he had ended up in this state. Looking at his down and out appearance, Ji-young sneered. My fiancé was curious and asked me, "Who's that? Why did he run away when he saw us?" I turned away my gaze and said calmly, "Just an unimportant person. Don't worry about him. Let's go." Story 2. My mother, who favored boys over girls for most of her life, became paralyzed unexpectedly at the age of 50. My younger brother, her beloved son who lived off his parents, never took up his responsibilities. I, unmarried, took care of her alone for 20 years until she passed away, unknown to anyone. My mother was reborn after her death, returning to the year when I was 18. Shirley, did you actually buy a new phone? During the summer break when I returned home, the corner of my new phone accidentally peeked out of my pocket and was spotted by Benny, who was watching TV on the sofa. He dropped his chips and dashed over to me in one swift motion, snatching the phone from my pocket and excitedly examining it from all angles. Alarm bells rang in my head, sensing trouble brewing. "What are you doing? Give it back." "Hee hee, it's mine now." Benny tried to unlock the phone with a few passwords, all incorrect, then forcefully demanded I unlock it for him. In desperation, I said, I bought this with the money I earned from my part-time job. You can't take it. I want it, and I will have it. Hee hee. Don't you have your own phone? Why do you have to take mine, this phone, which I had bought with money earned from long hours of part-time work? Was not something I was willing to just hand over. Besides, Benny, still in high school, already had the latest iPhone model. My phone was just a 2,000 yuan device, but he had a habit of taking my things, even if he didn't need them. What's wrong with having two phones? I suppressed my anger. Give it back. Mom. Hearing him call our mother, my heart sank. From childhood, whatever Benny wanted, our parents would go out of their way to fulfill. Especially if he took an interest in my belongings. It wasn't as if I hadn't resisted before, but my protests only resulted in scolding and punishment. You're his older sister. Why can't you give in to your brother? How can you be so thoughtless? You foolish girl. You'll get married someday, and the Lin family will have to rely on your brother. Don't even think about comparing yourself with him. I had heard these words countless times, watching my defeated expression. Benny started to laugh triumphantly, making faces at me. I was so angry I trembled, wishing I could slap him across the face. Slap, a crisp sound rang out, and Benny's face indeed received a hefty slap. I widened my eyes in shock. Benny, clutching his face, also widened his eyes. You scoundrel, how dare you take your sister's things? Give it back now. Out of nowhere, Mom appeared from the bedroom, and after slapping Benny, she stood with one hand on her hip and the other pointing fiercely at the phone in Benny's hand. This ferocious expression, one I had seen countless times growing up, had always been directed at me. This was the first time I saw Mom lash out at Benny. Mom, you hit me. You actually hit me for surely. Benny was still in shock, yelling and questioning our mom. Slap. Another slap landed on the other side of Benny's face. Mom's anger intensified. Yes, I hit you. And who allowed you to call your sister by her name? From now on, address her respectfully as sister. My jaw dropped. From the age of 7 or 8, Benny had always addressed me by my first name, who in the family didn't know, but it was tacitly accepted, having been coddled from a young age. Benny was not accustomed to such treatment. Once he realized what was happening, he burst into tears, screaming and furiously threw my phone to the ground. I won't, if I can't have this phone. Neither can Shirley. After yelling, Benny ran into the bedroom and slammed the door so hard it made me shudder uncontrollably. I looked at the shattered phone screen, heartbroken, and quickly knelt down to pick it up. While calculating the cost of replacing the screen, I wondered why Mom was acting so unusually today. Shirley, forget about the phone, we'll get a new one. I looked up incredulously, meeting my mother's tender and compassionate gaze. My heart skipped a beat, I admit. Seeing Mom like this was nice, but it was so sudden that I was not used to it and began to wonder if I was dreaming. Mom pulled me up, examining me from head to toe with a look in her eyes that I couldn't quite understand. Uneasily, I let her gaze over me. Wait, was I seeing things? Was she crying? She touched my hair as if talking to herself. It's good, Shirley doesn't have any gray hair. I'm only 18. Just started college, of course, I don't have gray hair. She then touched my hand. Your hands are still soft, no calluses. Well, I just do the dishes every day. It's not enough to cause calluses. She touched my back. Your back isn't bent. It's nice and straight. I frowned. I'm not an old woman. Why would I have a hunched back? I couldn't hold back anymore. Mom, what's wrong? Mom wiped her tears and squeezed out a smile. Nothing's wrong, darling. I just woke up from a nap and heard your brother screaming. Your father and I have spoiled him too much. Don't worry. He won't dare to steal your things again. If he dares to act like today, I'll teach him a lesson. As she spoke, Mom deliberately raised her voice towards Benny's bedroom. Bang, something in Benny's room fell. Mom smiled at me again, softly saying, Shirley, I'll give you 10,000 yuan. You can buy whatever phone you want. After speaking, she patted my hand and turned to pick up a rolling pin from the kitchen before heading to Benny's room. Who are you throwing things around for, Mom? Why are you hitting me again? I'm hitting you because you deserve it. And if you ever treat your sister like that again, I'll do it again. Amid Benny's screams, I pinched my thigh. Ouch. That hurt. After Mom disciplined Benny, she really transferred 10,000 yuan to me, but I didn't dare to spend it. I was afraid that when I woke up tomorrow, everything would have changed. Before dinner, Mom specifically came to ask what I wanted to eat. Her face full of guilt and remorse, she said, Shirley, I was wrong before. I didn't pay enough attention to you. What do you love to eat? Mama will cook it for you. Ever since I can remember, I was never allowed to be picky, waste food, or make special requests. But Benny could do all that. Whatever he didn't like, our parents would make me eat. Whatever he couldn't finish, they would pass it on to me. Whatever he wanted to eat, Mom would make right away, or Dad would go out to buy it. No one cared or knew what I liked or disliked. Anything is fine, Mom, I love everything you cook. To be honest, I don't even know what I like to eat. In my mind, I only know what I must eat and what I'm allowed to eat. I can't compete with Benny for the things he wants. Suddenly, tears welled up in Mom's eyes. Shirley. Mom has wronged you in the past. Can you forgive me? I was completely taken aback. You must understand, my mom is known far and wide for her fierce temper and strong personality. When such a person suddenly apologizes and softens towards you, your first reaction isn't touched, it's shock. Mom, you don't need to do this. I even started to wonder if I had a tendency to be masochistic. Mom's sudden change of attitude towards me, a complete 180, was really hard for me to adjust to. At dinner, Mom cooked a huge feast, complete with chicken, duck, fish, meat, and a variety of vegetarian dishes, almost as elaborate as our annual New Year's Eve dinner. She came out of the kitchen sweating from the heat but with a smile on her face. It's good to be able to move around. Shirley, come and eat. Mom, let's wait for Dad to come back and eat together. Mom pulled me to sit down and started serving food into my bowl while saying, eat if you're hungry. Suddenly, Benny burst out of his room, yelling, Mom, how could you start eating without calling me? Mom didn't even look up, just coldly said, eat if you want. Then she turned to me with a smile, oh yes, I also steamed some sticky rice buns for you. I'll go get them. I watched her as she turned to go to the kitchen, and my memories suddenly flashed back to when I was 8 years old. That time, Mom had steamed a basket of sticky rice buns. Benny was holding one in each hand, biting into them, and I happily took one too. But before I could even take a bite, Benny yelled, you can't eat them, they're all mine. In a fit of anger, I bit into one anyway. Benny, furious, threw all his buns on the floor, crying and saying that I was bullying him by stealing his food. I was punished that day with no dinner, and Benny became even more unreasonable after that. Now, Benny was clearly furious but didn't dare lash out at Mom and instead whispered threats to me. I've already told Dad about you. Just wait until he comes home to deal with you. As soon as he finished his sentence, the door opened. It was Dad. Dad, Benny cried out with a sobbing voice, sounding deeply aggrieved. Seeing me sitting and Benny standing, Dad scowled and scolded me. Shirley, your brother and I haven't even eaten yet, and you've already started. Are you asking for a spanking? He quickly walked over and grabbed the collar of my shirt, trying to pull me up from the chair. George. I turned around and saw Mom standing at the kitchen doorway, her expression dark and foreboding. Normally, that look on Mom's face was a sign that a storm was about to break, and Benny shrank behind Dad, trying to hide. At the moment, my dad had no idea what was going on. He was gripping me so tightly that I felt like a little chick being picked up by the scruff of my neck, my feet dangling in the air. The next second, my mom's fists rained down on my dad like a hailstorm. Let go of her, will you? How can you speak to Shirley like that, attacking Shirley without even understanding the situation? What kind of father are you? Have you ever considered Shirley's feelings? Caught off guard, my dad clumsily released my collar, dodging and yelling, Joanna, have you lost your mind? Why are you hitting me? Hey, not the face, but my mom's blows only grew fiercer, and in her fury, she swung at both my dad and Benny. Poor Benny was wailing as if he was being slaughtered. Why are you hitting me too? 10 minutes later, our family of 4 sat at the dining table. My dad, Benny, and I were eating in silence, while my mom chattered nonstop. Shirley, have some fish belly. It's boneless. Shirley, try the duck soup I made. How does it taste? You're too skinny. Eat more meat, but don't forget the vegetables for a balanced diet. Benny, what do you think you're doing? Your sister hasn't had any chicken legs yet. Don't you dare touch them. Benny, seething but not daring to speak, kept making eye signals to my dad, who deliberately turned his face away while holding his bowl. Under my mom's enthusiastic feeding, I felt so full I could vomit. I stood up to clear the dishes as usual, but my mom snatched them away from me. Benny, go wash the dishes. Incredulously, Benny looked at my mom. Mom, you've never asked me to wash dishes before. With an undeniable tone, my mom calmly said, Benny, not just today. From now until you go back to school, you're going to wash dishes every day. Besides washing dishes, you'll sweep, mop, clean the toilet, take out the trash, and wash your own clothes. I was utterly shocked. Normally, these chores were my responsibility whenever I was home. Clearly, Benny was not happy about this. For someone who had been coddled all his life, asking him to wash dishes and mop daily was practically a death sentence. Why, I don't want to. My dad tried to intervene. Honey, Shirley's just come home for the vacation. Let her help you like before. Why make the boy? Shut up. What I say goes. Binny suddenly stood up. Mom, if you insist on making me do it, I'll go on a hunger strike. Refusing to eat was Binny's go-to move since he was little. Whenever he screamed, "Then I won't eat," my mom would immediately give in and satisfy all his unreasonable demands. Being the favored one, he had the privilege to throw tantrums. When I was 13, I once ran away from home. I waited at a street corner 200 meters from our house for 4 hours. As night fell, I dejectedly walked back home. They were having dinner as if nothing had happened. "See, I told you she'd come back on her own. We can't keep spoiling that brat. Shirley, you're not allowed to eat dinner tonight. If it happens again, see how I'll deal with you." Mom stood up, took off her apron, and said indifferently to Binny, "Then starve to death for all I care." That evening, Mom took me to the mall. Clothes, shoes, skincare products, various necessities, anything she thought I could wear or use, she bought without hesitation. Before going to college, I wore school uniforms all year round. After the college entrance exams, it took several tries to convince Mom to give me 500 yuan to buy new clothes, but it was different for Binny. He had endless brand name clothes. His closet was packed full, and even basketball shoes costing thousands of yuan didn't make Mom flinch when buying them for him. So, usually, I was satisfied when Mom was willing to buy me clothes, but today she went on a shopping spree as if money was no object, which made me uneasy. "Mom, stop buying, it's enough." Mom turned a deaf ear, almost as if she wanted to move the entire mall back home. The next morning when I woke up, everything that had happened the day before felt like a dream. Binny tiptoed out to use the bathroom, and Mom was nowhere to be seen. "Watch your step, master, over here, take it slow." Mom's voice came from outside, and Binny, as if escaping, flew back to his bedroom. "Shirley, you're up. Come see what good things Mom bought for you." More purchases. My small bedroom was already packed to the brim. There was absolutely no more space. When the items were brought in, my jaw dropped. A piano. Mom had actually bought me a piano. "Shirley, didn't you always want to learn the piano when you were little? Do you like it?" There was a gleaming look in Mom's eyes. Her tone even carried a hint of appeasement. "Mom, this is too expensive. Moreover, not only does it not fit in my room, there's no place for it in the living room either." I hadn't recovered from the shock when Mom already pushed open Binny's bedroom door. "Put it here, Masters. Binny, you're swapping rooms with your sister. Start moving now." "Mom, why should I switch rooms with her for no reason?" "You'll switch if I say switch, or do you want me to beat you?" Mom's decisions were never up for debate. Half an hour later, the piano was in Binny's room. 2 hours later, Binny's room became mine. Our house was just a 2-bedroom. And my bedroom was converted from a storage room. A single bed and a small desk almost filled up the room, and I had to hang my clothes on a retractable clothes rack. My things were easy to move, but Binny's stuff was just too much. Clothes, shoes, computer, speakers, figurines, decorations. Mom ruthlessly threw them all into a big box for him to sort out. Binny didn't dare yell at Mom anymore and sulked in his room alone. Since he didn't do any chores, Mom simply didn't cook for him. And every time I tried to help Mom with chores, she stopped me. Suddenly, the status of me and Binny in Mom's heart seemed to have switched. He became the child Mom disfavored, while I, inexplicably, became the apple of her eye, even more so than she ever was with Binny. Mom was adamant. If Binny didn't do the chores, she wouldn't cook for him, nor allow him to order takeout. If he dared to eat out, he wouldn't be allowed to come home that night. In just 2 weeks, Binny visibly lost a lot of weight. His spirits constantly low, like a frostbitten bok choy. Under the stern gaze of my mother, my father no longer dared to boss me around or to hit me at whim. Whenever he tried to speak up for Binny, he would only face harsher scolding from my mom. She even threw out all the cigarettes at home, forcing my dad to quit smoking. Her reason was that if he continued, he'd get lung cancer before he turned 50. Without his cigarettes, my dad also became listless, until one day, he came home from work, excitedly announcing that the main corporation was organizing a group purchase for housing, allocating quotas to each subsidiary, and if interested, the payment had to be made in full at once. "Honey, the welfare house is that development we looked at before. Great location, beautiful layout, most importantly, with the group purchase, it's 300,000 cheaper than the market price." 300,000, imagine that. Everyone at my office was buzzing about it today. "You should withdraw our savings tomorrow. Our bank balance is just about right. We must secure a spot and get on board with this opportunity." Mom had always complained that our current house was too old and in a poor location, making shopping and commuting inconvenient. She always wanted to change houses, but we never came across the right opportunity. It was either that the affordable ones didn't catch her eye, Or the ones she liked were too expensive, with such a great opportunity now. I thought Mom would be thrilled, but when I turned to look at her, I surprisingly found her wearing an indifferent expression. We're not buying. What did you say? My dad thought he had misheard. Mom raised her voice and repeated, we're not buying. My dad started squawking like a scalded chicken. Why not buy? It's such a great opportunity, an opportunity others would kill for, and you're just going to pass. Haven't you always wanted to change houses? Although I wasn't qualified to participate in such significant family decisions, I too thought my dad made sense. Missing out on a chance to save hundreds of thousands seemed like missing the boat, but no matter how my dad appealed emotionally or reasoned with her, Mom remained unmoved. My dad was nearly going mad. Joanna, you'll just wait and regret it. I'll see where you go crying then. But there was nothing he could do. The money was controlled by Mom, and without her consent, it was untouchable. The next day, my dad left the house in a huff without even eating breakfast. That afternoon, Mom's old schoolmate aunt suddenly called her. Joanna, today's the registration day for buying the house. Why hasn't your family's George done anything? Oh, we've decided not to buy that house. We'll look around some more. My heavens, you're passing up such a huge bargain. I told my Patrick he's not allowed home if he doesn't secure a spot. Luckily, he managed to get one and paid in full on the spot. Aunt's husband happened to be in the same company as my dad, and over the years, she and my mom had always been quietly competing, comparing looks, health, husbands, children, living conditions. It turned out Aunt was calling specifically to brag to my mom. Mom, however, didn't engage in her usual sarcastic banter but instead replied with a smile, well, congratulations to you, we don't have the money, so we're not joining in on this frenzy. George earns about the same as Patrick, and you don't have the money. Wow, if I were you, I'd even borrow to secure that house. I've seen that house, and boy, it's fantastic. You might regret this in the future, Aunt said, thinking she had the upper hand as she chuckled and hung up the phone. I couldn't help but ask my mom why she didn't want to buy the house. Mom looked disdainful. Let Helen grab that unfinished house. Unfinished. I looked at Mom skeptically. How did she know? After saying that, Mom clammed up, refusing to say more no matter how much I questioned her. She then urged me to change clothes, mysteriously mentioning she would take me somewhere. After an hour-long taxi ride, Mom brought me to a sales center in the western suburbs. Behind the sales center was a residential area under construction, surrounded by desolate land as far as the eye could see, with no amenities nearby. The sales center itself was almost empty, hardly visited by anyone. I was very puzzled. Mom, you're not seriously considering buying a house here? It's quite far from the city center. In fact, that was an understatement. It was more than just a bit far. It was nearly out of the city. Mom ruffled my hair. You don't understand now, but you will later. The sales consultant greeted us warmly. Ma'am, although there's nothing around right now, in 3 years, this place will. A pretty consultant began to enthusiastically point out the future benefits of the development, attempting to, well, not to hoodwink us, but to highlight the advantages of investing here. Mom interrupted her. I know all that. Just show me the floor plans and the current prices. Ma'am, you really have a keen eye, the consultant exclaimed, given its distance from the city and the surrounding barren land. The current prices were incredibly low. I watched, dumbfounded, as Mom chose 2 3-bedroom apartments in the best building and immediately paid the deposit without a second thought. The consultant was overjoyed, hardly able to keep her mouth closed. I was flabbergasted. Mom, aren't you going to discuss this with Dad? He knows nothing. By the time we finished discussing, it would be too late. I nervously swallowed. There was likely to be a big fight between Mom and Dad, sure enough. When Dad found out Mom had spent $200,000 on those apartments in that desolate western suburb, 2 apartments at that, he was furious, ranting about having married a foolish wife who squandered money and even threatening divorce. Dad, in a fit of anger, stayed at his workplace for a week without coming home. When Aunt heard the news, she came over, barely concealing her glee, to mock my mom. Joanna, I'm not trying to criticize you, but if you missed out on the welfare housing, you shouldn't have panicked and acted recklessly, Aunt said. Mom just smiled silently. What's in the western suburbs? No economy, no development. Anyone with a bit of foresight wouldn't buy a house there. You're just throwing your money away. Aunt continued. Mom remained calm and collected. Aunt went on. Look how angry you've made George. When your son wants to get married later, which girl would be happy marrying into a family without a decent house? This time, Mom couldn't hold back. Who said I bought this for my son? This is for my daughter and my retirement. If my son wants to marry, he can earn his own way. Aunt was stunned, muttering under her breath if Mom had lost her mind from some shock. I'm perfectly fine, never been clearer, Mom retorted. Aunt snorted with laughter. Keep talking tough, I'll just wait and see the day you regret this. Then, Aunt left. I was still in shock for a long time. Those two houses. Not only did Mom have no intention of giving one to Benny, but she was actually planning to leave one for me. Oh my God, did I hear that right? Mom was acting out of character, and I, the direct beneficiary, couldn't help but share Aunt's suspicion. Had something really affected my mom's mind? Moreover, I was worried that this might actually lead my parents to divorce. Mom seemed to see through my concerns and reassured me. Don't worry, your dad will be back by next week at the latest. How could she be so sure? But before my dad returned, my grandmother arrived first. After receiving an urgent plea from Benny, the old lady spent $100 to take a taxi from the neighboring county. Arriving full of fury, she arrived when Mom was not at home. Benny, seeing her as his savior, threw himself into her arms, sobbing, "Grandma, you're finally here. My God, my dear grandson, how did you get so thin?" I was in the bedroom and my heart tightened reflexively when I heard Grandma's voice. Then Benny spilled everything. Lamenting the inhuman treatment he had suffered recently, Grandma listened, continuously expressing sympathy with cries of "Oh my poor grandson." When Grandma heard that Mom had made Benny do household chores, she was incredulously shocked. How could your mom make you, a young man, wash dishes and mop floors? Men in our George family are meant for bigger things, not housework. Grandma, I was actually mopping the floor right before you came. Mom said if I didn't finish, I wouldn't get any food. What has gotten into your mom? She used to treat you so well, didn't she? I don't know. She just bought a house a few days ago, said it was for Shirley, and I didn't get anything. Grandma's voice suddenly became sharp. I think your mom has lost her mind. Where is your sister? Get her out here. Feeling a mix of emotions, I timidly walked out of the bedroom and called out, "Grandma." I couldn't help it. I've been afraid of her since I was little, and, I admit, I really didn't like her. She had advocated giving me away when I was born. At 3, she deliberately let go of my hand in a busy market, and I ended up being brought back home by a passing neighbor. At 9, she took me and Benny to an amusement park but bought only 2 tickets, one for Benny and one for herself, leaving me to shiver in the cold at the entrance for hours, and I ended up with a fever that night, before my university entrance exams. She even kept telling my parents that it was useless for girls to study so much, better to find a rich husband. Thankfully, my aunt always spoke up for me, which gave me the chance to go to college. At that moment, Grandma looked at me with disdain. A girl daring to compare with my precious grandson. Shouldn't you be doing more housework at home, learning to cook? That's what's proper. You just watch your brother work. You don't stop him when your mom makes him do chores. Do you even act like a sister? I'm telling you, as long as I'm here, I won't let your mom make such foolish mistakes. What kind of logic is this? Buying a house for a daughter and not for a son? What are you standing there for? Go mop the floor, and then cook for your brother. Although Mom has been extraordinarily nice to me recently, I'm not deluded. I obediently picked up the mop. There's no winning against Grandma. Benny raised his hand. Grandma, look at my hands. They're all calloused. Grandma tenderly embraced Benny, soothing him gently. My poor grandson, you've suffered. While I was mopping the floor, I silently cursed Benny for being so pretentious. Just then, Mom returned from grocery shopping and immediately noticed me slogging away. "Shirley, didn't we agree that your brother would handle the chores from now on?" I responded with a sheepish smile. "Joanna, Grandma, sitting cross-legged, drawled as Mom finally noticed her sitting on the sofa, slightly surprised. "Mom, when did you get here?" "Oh, when did I get here? If I hadn't come, who knows how bullied my grandson would have been." Mom snatched the mop from my hand. "Benny, finish your chores." Benny cowered behind Grandma. "Grandma." Suddenly, Grandma slammed her hand on the coffee table and shouted with commanding force, "I want to see who dares make my grandson work today." Despite her age, Grandma's presence was just as imposing as Mom's. Benny and I didn't dare breathe. Feeling the tension between them, Grandma, holding Benny's hand, scolded my mom. "He's a boy. Why should he do household chores? What are you thinking? He's growing, and you're not even feeding him properly. What if he falls ill from malnutrition? Can you bear that responsibility? And Benny's room, you make him stay in that storage space. It's like a pigsty. Is that a place for people? So, I guess I'm not human then. And another thing." Grandma pointed at Mom. "Benny said you bought a house for your daughter, not for him. Is that true?" Faced with Grandma's fierce interrogation, Mom remained calm. "Yes, since George put me in charge, I have the authority." "What authority?" "I don't believe my son would allow you to act so recklessly. If you really dare, do you believe I'd convince my son to divorce you?" I looked worriedly at Mom, but she just smiled slightly. Suit yourself, Benny, didn't you hear me? Finish mopping. Grandma was so angry she trembled. Dear grandson, come with grandma, let's see who can force you to work. With that, Benny found his support, glanced resentfully at Mom and me, quickly packed some things in his room, and indeed left with grandma. As they left, I could still hear grandma saying, "Just wait for your mom to regret this. I assure you it won't be long before she comes to fetch you." After grandma and Benny left, I was genuinely worried for a few days, fearing that dad might suddenly return and decide to divorce mom. But mom continued her life unaffected, eating and drinking as usual. Turns out mom was right. Dad came back that weekend, looking disheveled and embarrassed. "Shirley, where's your mom?" I was watching TV and pointed towards the bedroom. Dad, too anxious even to change his shoes, rushed in. I heard him excitedly shouting, "Honey, the developer of that welfare housing, he took everyone's full payments and ran off. The building isn't even finished, and it's already abandoned. It's only been a few days, and everyone at my work who bought those houses was initially so happy. Now they're devastated. They're all talking about calling the police, but what's the use? The money's gone. Patrick and Helen are heading straight for divorce." Patrick claims that he was persuaded by Helen to buy their house and even had to borrow a significant amount of money for it. "Thank goodness we didn't buy it," my dad remarked after a lengthy discussion, filled with both emotion and relief, while my mom remained unfazed, as if she had known all along. "Still think I'm confused?" she asked. "It's me who's the real fool here," he admitted. "Still want a divorce?" He quickly added, "A divorce? Why would you say that, dear?" Which made my mom laugh, and I couldn't help but join in. I heard my dad say, "Well, I've realized that owning 2 mediocre houses is still better than losing all our money, as long as they don't end up unfinished." Right then, the local news on TV was reporting, "Our city plans to invest 15.65 billion yuan to expedite the Eye of the City project, focusing on high-quality development, high-standard planning, implementation, and management, to push forward the development of the new district." The project, which includes commercial, educational, medical, and leisure facilities, aims to be completed by 2025 and will undoubtedly boost the surrounding commercial and residential areas. The TV screen showed the sales center my mom and I had visited that day, leaving a profound impact on my young mind. My mom appeared to me like a deity. "Dad, Mom, come and look." Even before the new year, our home's atmosphere was more festive than the holiday itself, although my mom seemed calm. I could feel her happiness. My dad, who had been downcast, now walked with his head held high. "Ah, Patrick used to mock me so much. Who would have thought the tables would turn?" My mom advised him to keep a low profile to avoid envy. Right, you're correct. But thinking about how much those 2 apartments you bought have appreciated, I can't even sleep," my dad exclaimed. My mom gave him a stern look. "Buy another one. And you think I wouldn't have killed you? Besides, do you even have that much money?" Anything my mom said now, my dad wouldn't get upset. Hee, look at you. He chuckled, thrilled to the core. With Benny completely forgotten unless my mom mentioned bringing him back. While out shopping, I ran into Aunt who quickly dodged us before we could greet her. Despite my mom's advice to keep things low-key, the news that we had bought 2 apartments at a bargain price that had then skyrocketed was soon known by our relatives. My aunt and uncle were the first to visit. "Joanna, how do you have such great foresight?" my mom modestly replied. "Ah, just blind luck. Why didn't you think to bring us in on this great deal at the start?" My uncle lamented. "Brother, if I had called you then, would you have joined?" My uncle awkwardly laughed while my aunt quickly changed the subject. "So, your older nephew is about to propose, right? The girl's family is asking for a hefty bride price. And we're struggling to prepare both the bride price and a house," she hinted heavily, but my mom pretended not to catch on. "I've met the girl once. She's nice. I'm sure they'll have a happy marriage," my mom replied, as my aunt subtly coughed, hinting further. "Oh well, that's why we thought we should hurry up and settle this marriage." Mom agreed. "Yes, we need to do it quickly." My uncle couldn't hold back any longer. "Joanna, I'm really tight on money right now. Do you think you could help out?" Mom laughed, though there was a hint of distance in her smile. "Brother, sister-in-law, it's not that I don't want to help, but I really don't have any cash on hand since I bought the house." It seemed Mom had made up her mind not to lend the money, and I couldn't understand her tactics. Over the years, my uncle and aunt had borrowed money not just once or twice, and Mom had always been quick to help. Why the change today, when my uncle and aunt left? They looked quite upset. "Joanna, I am your own brother. Don't you care about our sibling bond? Don't you think about the day when you might need my help?" Mom said emotionlessly. "Brother, I will give a generous red envelope for my grandnephew's wedding. When my aunt heard that Mom hadn't lent them the money, she came storming over to confront her. "Joanna, have you forgotten what our parents said before they passed? The three of us must support and help each other. His problems are our problems, and we must find ways to assist him." Mom scoffed. "He's a grown man, and whenever he faces a little trouble, he comes to us. What about when we have problems? He just shirks his responsibilities. I'm tired of being the fool." "But he's the only male in our family," Mom interrupted my aunt, continuing the family line. "Sister, don't you find that laughable? Tell me, did we serve our parents any less than he did, who was by their bedside in the hospital? Him or us taking turns day and night? Once we women are married, we're considered water thrown out, while men are always treasured, seen as the hope and future of the family. In my opinion, if he can't even fulfill basic human decency, he's worthless." Stunned by Mom's words, my aunt left in a daze. After my aunt left, Mom took the initiative to call my aunt, her sister, exchanged a few pleasantries, and warmly invited her family to come visit us. "Mom, didn't you have a fallout with my aunt last time? Surely, you might not understand adult matters yet. Mom has learned from her losses which people are genuinely kind and which are not. Adversity reveals true friends." Mom was again speaking in ways I couldn't comprehend. When had she suffered a loss? I wasn't aware. Under Mom's influence, Dad's attitude towards me also gradually changed. He no longer called me stupid girl with a sour face, nor did he constantly lecture me to be considerate towards Benny. Oh, speaking of Benny, it seems he's been at Grandma's house for almost a month now, and Mom shows no signs of wanting him back. Once I overheard Grandma calling Dad, "When is your wife planning to bring your son back home? What's the matter, Mom? Isn't Benny happy at your place? Aren't you worried he'll get tired again if he comes back?" "I don't know if he'll get tired, but if he doesn't come back soon, I'm going to be exhausted to death." It turns out that after Benny went to Grandma's, he completely let loose, reverting to his lazy, gluttonous ways. Benny is picky with food, he demands meat at every meal, and if he gets hungry at midnight, he wakes Grandma to cook for him. Benny is messy. He throws used tissues everywhere, leaves towels strewn about, doesn't lift the toilet seat, and leaves crumbs all over the bed. Grandma, who loves cleanliness, could hardly stand it. Every day she had to clean up after him. Benny liked to sleep in during the mornings, so he wouldn't let Grandma listen to the radio. At night, Benny would play video games, blasting the volume no matter the hour. Over the month, Benny gained back the weight he had lost, while Grandma got noticeably thinner. Previously, when Benny visited his grandma's house, it was only for 3 or 4 days, and she didn't mind whatever he did, but this time, the visit was too long, coupled with the fact that he had been feeling cooped up at home, without his mother to supervise. He completely let loose, and even Grandma couldn't tolerate it anymore. She didn't wait for his mother to plead with Benny to return. Instead, she indirectly asked my dad about it. My dad, already tipped off by my mom, said with difficulty, "If Benny comes back, he can only stay in the small room, which would be tough for him." "What's the issue? Didn't you grow up without even a bedroom?" "All 4 of us crammed into one small room, but if Benny comes back, he can't play video games or sleep in, which will be tough for him. Young people shouldn't stay up late. Going to bed early and rising early is the way to stay healthy." "What about the chores Joanna will make him do if he comes back?" "It's all about balancing work and rest. Besides, doing more chores himself will help him understand others' hardships better." "But," Grandma, losing her patience, shouted, "Enough with the buts, go get your son back home now." Benny never expected that even his beloved Grandma would betray him. His last bit of hope was shattered. His mom enrolled him in several tutoring classes, giving him a choice between housework and tutoring. Benny decisively chose tutoring. "Benny, don't say I didn't give you a chance. If your grades don't improve next semester, not only will you have to do housework, but you'll also be making breakfast and dinner every day. Since your grades are poor anyway, they can't get much worse." Moreover, Benny no longer dared to behave as before, snatching my things and bossing me around, and he even awkwardly called me sister from time to time. I don't know why Mom was so firm about Dad quitting smoking, refusing to give in, and Dad painfully completed the process. I spent that summer feeling like it was all a dream. On the day of departure, my mom took me to the high-speed train station, looking exceptionally happy. "Surely, starting this semester, Mom will give you 5,000 yuan a month for living expenses." I quickly shook my head. "Mom, that's too much." I told her that 1,500 was more than enough for me. "The amount is Mom's decision. How you use it is up to you. You're a sensible child. 1,000 times better than your brother." As she spoke, her eyes reddened. She was never one to cry, but the distance and barriers between us over 18 years couldn't be immediately erased in just over a month. I didn't know how to comfort her, or what to say, so I could only remain awkwardly silent. Mom laughed through her tears, wiping them away as she pushed me into the station. Look at me, crying for no reason. Alright, go on. Shirley, study hard in college, make friends, and fully enjoy your own life, and remember, if there's anything, or any time you feel homesick, call me. Okay, I pursed my lips and nodded. As the high-speed train left the platform and the familiar scenery started to fade away, I thought back to just moments ago when I unintentionally looked back and saw Mom stretching on her tiptoes, craning her neck, looking for me. Suddenly, my tears began to fall. The last time I left home for a university thousands of miles away, I felt only the thrill of escape, but this time, did I unknowingly develop a sense of attachment. In my junior year of college, Binny got admitted to a local university, and the whole family was overjoyed. Even Grandma had to admit that it was thanks to Mom's strictness over the past 2 years that Binny was able to get into college, and Binny's bad habits were curbed under Mom's strict discipline. During these years, Mom advised Dad on how to navigate office politics, whom to team up with, whom to gift, and whom to impress. After Dad followed her advice, he was promoted 3 levels in 2 years, and his career prospered immensely. My relationship with Binny also improved significantly during this time. Mom always made it a point to instill in him, Shirley is your sister, it's your duty to protect her from being bullied. Once your dad and I are gone, she will be your closest kin. If you don't treat her well, who will? As graduation approached, Dad wanted me to come back home, but Mom said, Shirley, don't worry about anything. If you want to come home, I support you. If you want to move to another city, I fully support you as well. If you decide to settle down in a city, I'll sell the house we bought for you to provide you with funds to buy your own. Mom really hopes you have your own life, to see you get married, have children, and start your own family. Mom needs to take good care of her health. So when you have children, if you want Mom to help, I'll be there without hesitation. If you find me annoying, I'll just provide financial support. Over the phone, Mom rambled from job hunting to me having children, and I found myself unexpectedly tearing up. For years ago, when I left home for university, I was thrilled to escape the suffocating environment of our home. Now, as graduation is nearing, I could go further away, yet I find myself filled with reluctance and concerns. I don't have grand ambitions. I chose to return home and successfully got a job as a civil servant. Mom was so happy she wanted to throw a huge celebration at a 5-star hotel, but I insisted on keeping it low-key. After settling into my job, Mom started looking for potential suitors for me. Dad didn't understand the rush. Shirley is still so young, what's the hurry? But Mom scolded him for knowing nothing. Good guys are in high demand. If Shirley finds someone decent, they can date for a couple of years to get to know each other well before getting married. Ideally, she'd have 2 kids before turning 30. Then I can look after the kids while Shirley focuses on her career. I couldn't help but interject. Mom, I think 1 child will be enough. Without hesitation, Mom replied, sure, 1 is also good. Whatever you say. Dad shook his head. That's what you call it. What you young people say, daughter slave. Mom slapped Dad on the back. Stop your nonsense. And don't forget the health checkup I scheduled for you this afternoon. Suddenly, a voice message popped up in the group chat from Binny. Mom, I actually won a 3rd-level scholarship, $500. Can you believe it? Your son is making something of himself. I sent a thumbs up emoji in the group chat. Hey sis. Isn't your birthday coming up? How about I buy you a lipstick? Mom teased. You rascal. What's the point of a birthday gift if you spoil the surprise? Dad was delighted. Not bad, not bad. The son takes after me. A late bloomer my foot. I've always said this. Once he graduates, he needs to find a job and fight for his own house. Don't even think about relying on us. Dad insisted. Look at you, being too harsh on Binny. The kid just won an award, and instead of celebrating, you bring this up. Besides, which young person can afford to buy a house on their own these days? Mom countered. Mom and Dad started bickering again. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows of the new house, warming my body. Suddenly, a phrase popped into my mind. The sun is warm, and the days are peaceful. This was exactly why I chose to come home. Extra Chapter 20. After Mom passed away, I went back to the old house to sort through her belongings, exhausted. I leaned against her bed to rest and somehow fell asleep. In my dream, I was back in my 20s. Dad had passed away early from lung cancer, and Mom, alone, had used her savings to buy Binny a house, pay the dowry, and cover the wedding expenses. But on the day of the wedding, Mom was in a car accident and woke up paralyzed from the waist down. The doctors said she would never recover. Binny, having just married, said it was inconvenient to care for our paralyzed mother and left her in my care. I couldn't neglect Mom, so I took on the responsibility. To better care for Mom, I rented a 2-bedroom house, but my meager salary couldn't cover the rent, our daily expenses, and Mom's medical bills, so I took on several jobs. Initially, Benny helped out with some money, but over time, he started making excuses. I asked my uncle for help, but he said he had his own grandsons to look after and couldn't do much. Thankfully, my aunt and my other uncle occasionally helped us through the toughest times. The financial issues were minor compared to Mom's psychological struggles. Hearing him call out to Mom, my heart sank. I spent my days wiping her body, cleaning up after her incontinence, massaging her legs to prevent muscle atrophy, trying to make her laugh with jokes, and pretending not to see her tears. We depended solely on each other. Day by day, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. The constant physical and emotional toll turned my hair white and my hands calloused before I even reached 50. I never married. As Mom lay dying, she held my hand, crying like a child. "Shirley, I'm so sorry I let you down this life." Every day, I pray to God, hoping we'll have another life together, praying for a chance to make things right. Mom, it was my daughter who woke me up. "Why are you sleeping while sitting? Be careful not to catch a cold." I was still in a daze. Unable to stop thinking about the dream I had, my thoughts suddenly snapped back to that summer when I was 18. An unusual turn of events had changed the destiny of Benny, myself, and our entire family. "So, that's how it was. Mom, you're crying. I miss Grandma. But when Grandma passed away, she told you not to be sad. She said she lived a fulfilling life without any regrets." "Yes, your grandma did everything she wanted to do,